Hey everyone, and welcome to Television from the Multiverse, the DC TV podcast from Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, and over on the other side of the screen is Connor.
Yes, it is.
And yes, it's a big week. It's a big week because we have the crossover. It's the annual tradition where all of a sudden half of our episodes are all linked together into one big story.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we got the mid-seasons for a couple of the others.
That's true. We got mid-seasons. And then whatever Titans gave us this week.
Titans is just there, yeah.
It's funny though, because it was such a strong week otherwise that it's weird that Titans had one of its weakest episodes on the week where everything else was firing on all cylinders. And I mean everything else.
Okay.
So, it's just weird. So, yeah, so perhaps some news first before we get to that. But obviously, we'll shift the order of the shows this week, because normally we just do them in order of airing. I think this week it makes no sense to split up the Elseworlds episodes, so we'll do the 3 Elseworlds episodes first as one big discussion, and then move into Black Lightning and Legends and Titans. Not in that order. We'll do those in the order they aired, but yeah. So we're gonna kick off with that. But we'll get with news first though. Some news. Speaking of Black Lightning, actually, this is less news and more just, this is... I mean, it is news, but it's less news in the sense that it's just a costume reveal.
Okay, which I clearly haven't seen.
Which you clearly haven't seen.
Because you didn't tell me.
I didn't tell you. You can Google it now while I'm telling you about it. But Lightning, we have Lightning's costume reveal. And it's very Silver Age looking.
Oh, that's very bright.
Well, it's bright and dark. It's yellow and black.
Yeah, but the yellow is really bright in this picture.
Yeah, well, our powers are very bright. I guess it'll just blend in nicely.
I'm going to be blinded from the reflections of her powers on that yellow.
Not as much as Starfire's purple jumpsuit.
Fair enough.
So, no, but it looks kind of in tone with Thunder's, which makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of like halfway between Thunder's outfit and like Thunder's like prototype outfit, which was just that disco looking thing, the classic outfit. It's kind of like halfway between those. But yeah, that's fine.
I'm not sure I like how all the yellow bits kind of stick out.
Obviously, this is one of these promo photos. We'll see what it looks like in action. I presume this is from the second half of the season. They're revealing this for now.
That would make sense.
So yeah, so you can have a look at that if you haven't seen it. Other than that, though, we had some casting for shows. I'll get one for Swamp Thing out of the way first. Blue Devil's been cast for Swamp Thing.
Okay.
Ian Ziering has been cast, who I'm not familiar with, but he's been cast as Blue Devil. So maybe the news there is just that we're getting Blue Devil on.
It could be, yeah, because I don't know who that is.
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with the character either. It's not exactly. He was a stuntman who became a Blue Devil.
Yes.
How is the description? Stuntman turned movie star Daniel Cassidy became semi-famous after playing the demonic Blue Devil. Reads the description. But now, 8 years later, Cassidy finds himself living out his days in frustration, pining for his former fame on a conclusion course for destiny. Oh, he's not actually a Blue Devil. I thought he was because the image they've got in this article at Newsarama, there's a dude painted blue. But I guess that's just when he was acting.
I was under the impression he kind of got cursed to become a devil.
You would assume so. Maybe that's.
I'm sure we've seen. Blue
Oh
Devil
yes. Spell that permanently bonded the stuntman with the suit. Okay.
There we go.
By Neron, fun enough, who's the villain on Legends of Tomorrow this season. Look at that. Hey, so let's go. And then we got 3 different castings for Stargirl just in the last day or two. We got Joel McHale from Community and VGX 2013, the infamous VGX. Also the Soup and other things that he's done. He has been cast as Starman, kind of.
But no, he is. It's just which version?
No. It's kind of, because who he's actually playing is technically the Star Spangled Kid, who did take the mantle of Starman briefly once, but has never really been one of the... Because when you think of Starman, there's like 4 or 5 that you think of.
When I say he is, I meant in the sense that the character description kind of sounds like they're merging a couple of them.
Yeah. But the fact that he's already kind of a legacy character, I think might be an important thing. In the sense that he's also kind of mentoring Courtney. It's like, okay, so it's kind of passed on already through someone.
Yeah.
So now it's passed on through me to you, and yeah, I can see them doing something with that. It makes a lot of sense. And then we got Lou Ferrigno Jr., who apparently exists. I didn't know there was a junior.
I didn't know there was either, but it's fine by me.
My immediate joke when I read this headline was, "Oh, we have a Hulk," but yeah, he's been cast as Our Man. So,
which Our Man is it?
I never actually read the article earlier. I just saw the headline. It was enough. Well, I know who Our Man is. It's fine.
I do
Rex,
too, but...
Rex Tyler. It's Rex Tyler.
So the original.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then we have Wildcat has been cast. Brian Stapp has been cast as Wildcat. So we get a Wildcat, a Starman, and an Our Man.
I'm just waiting on Matt, Alan Scott, Jay Garrick.
Those might be the ones they avoid.
Maybe at first.
Especially Jay. I'm thinking Jay, because Jay's a character on Flash, they might avoid him for a while.
Let's just get John Wesley Shipp over.
Yeah, just have him do it. Why not? This is Earth 3. Go for it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. It was Earth 3 he was from, right? If I remember that correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Look, he has played like 3 different characters on The Flash. Just let him play Jay again on a different Earth. It doesn't matter. I don't care. He's great.
Yeah, we could do that. So, no, I mean, obviously, we're building a JSA there. I mean, we knew there was going to be JSA connections in it, but we've built half a JSA at this point. So
we have.
Go for it. There you go. That's the news. We're done talking about news because I think we want to talk about shows, because shows were important this week.
Shows were damn good this week.
So we're going to talk about a combination of 3 shows to begin with. This is the main event of the week, naturally.
Arguably the main event of the CW season.
Oh, no doubt it is. Like, not even a question. It is. It was funny because as I was watching it this week, I was thinking to myself, I really wish that they ended the seasons with one of these as well. Like, give us one just before Christmas, and then give us one in like May.
Yeah.
Have them all wrap up their seasons in April around episode like 19, or whatever.
Shave a couple of episodes off the season and just go, right, here's a bonus thing at the end.
Yeah, here's like a 6-episode thing at the end or whatever. I don't know. Pipe dreams, perhaps. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Elseworlds, which is The Flash, then Arrow, and then Supergirl, episode 9s of all 3 of the season. And
they're all called Elseworlds, parts 1 through 3, respectively.
1 through 3, yep. So obviously, and we're going to go through in order, but for the most part, but just that's the blanket thing. That's what we're talking about here. So, yeah, did you enjoy Elseworlds? I guess is my my first question.
Hell yes. I think I've been praising it in various places. I think I said this is as a whole, this is the best live action DC movie since Dark Knight Rises.
Well, what a claim! What a bold claim! Now, obviously, it sets stuff up for next year, which I want to have a conversation about all on its own when we get to the end.
Yeah.
And Connor's rolling his eyes at me because he wanted to talk about it in the news, and I'm like, no, leave it till the end of Elseworlds. But it comes out at the end of Elseworlds. It makes sense to talk about it then, so we'll talk about it then. But yeah, so here's the thing. So I think the crossovers, because if you look at all the crossovers now, right? Because now we've had, this is the 4th one. We had Flash versus Arrow. We had the Savage Hawks setting up the Legends, and then we had Invasion. And then we had Crisis on Earth X, and this is the 5th one. This is Elseworlds.
Yes.
And for the most part, they've gotten better as they've gone. I think the exception to that is the 2nd one, which is the worst, I think, by far.
Yes.
It's not even a question. That one with the Hawks setting up Legends.
Bit of a misstep there.
Was terrible.
I don't blame the crossover itself too much. It was like, okay, they had to set up this whole show, and it was just kind of...
Hey, this one sets up a Batwoman show, the next crossover...
Yeah, okay, but in this, okay, it sets up a Batwoman show in one part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the focus of the crossover. Whereas,
sure.
Whereas that crossover, the 2nd one, that's all it was doing.
The problem was as well is that it kind of, I don't remember feeling like it actually set up Legends. It just set up the Hawks more than anything.
It set up the Hawks and it set up Vandal Savage.
Yeah. Which were also the worst parts of Legends of Tomorrow, like ever.
Oh, thank God they're gone.
Thank God they're all gone, yes. And so obviously Crisis on Earth X, I mean, I think I said, because I liked Invasion quite a bit, although it had its problems, it was messy in places. But it was fun, it had some big things that made me smile. And then Crisis on Earth X, I said at the time last year, I'm sure if you go back and watch our episodes about that, I was really impressed with that and said, oh, we've finally reached what I thought these crossovers should be. And that it doesn't, because up until that point, all the individual episodes still kind of felt compartmentalized.
And they felt still not necessarily like their own shows, respectively, because there was episodes of Arrow that felt like an episode of The Flash and vice versa, but they felt like whichever city they were on, it was just an episode of that show.
Yeah, but they felt very fragmented, whereas last year they nailed this thing where it was just a 4-part movie, and it didn't really matter what episode was what's show for the most part, right? There was maybe little things here or there, but there was. And what's funny is this one does actually kinda go back to kind of making it more episodic, but not as much as I thought it was going to. When they said to me specifically, they spoke to me, when they said before that it was going back to more like episode by episode, and like Flash would be kind of Flash's episode and so on. I was expecting worse than what we actually did, because I think for the most part it still feels like just a 3-part thing. It's just that they used the fact that episode 1's the Flash to kind of start with the fact that, you know, Oliver is the Flash, and he's kind of like,
yeah, I think the exception for the most part is the supporting cast.
Yeah, the supporting cast are the only thing that kind of tell you which one's which.
Yeah.
Everything else, because, you know, most of Arrow was spent in Gotham. Most of Supergirl's in Central City.
Can we just say that sentence again?
Most of Arrow was spent in Gotham. Yes. So, you know, my concern about that was kind of unfounded. I think it was right to have that concern given the previous crossovers, and I didn't want it to revert back. But I left
this is a comfortable balance.
Yes, I left this feeling very impressed. Very impressed for multiple reasons. Not only did it give me the big moments that I like from these crossovers, not only did it give me the character interactions that are usually fun, and perked up some characters that I don't necessarily always enjoy on their own shows. It hit some emotional beats in the storytelling that I did not expect, or I certainly didn't expect them to have the weight that they did. And I'll get to that when we get to the third part specifically. And then what it sets up, because I think during episode 2 you realize what it's hinting at, right? You're like, okay, because I think partly we were thinking, oh, maybe this is just going to be that kind of.
We spoke that in the last few weeks for sure. I tweeted during episode 2, well, when I was watching episode 2, that I was like, hey, are we getting this next year?
Yeah, and I had my doubts based on how it was worded in the episode, and then by the end I was like, nah, I'm pretty sure we are. And then episode 3, of course, sets it up. So, and what I like about that just on its own, the idea that they're thinking about next year's, and they're saying a year out, no, we're going to do this. That is a sign of planning on their parts that I really appreciate. It feels like confident. It feels like, no, we have a long game in mind.
Yeah.
And to some extent, and I like that, especially since, you know, we're 7 years into this universe now. Like, the history's built up, but we'll get to that. So let's rewind back to the start. Episode 1, The Flash. This is kind of your Freaky Friday episode, or Quantum Leap, as is debated several times throughout the duration of the first 2 episodes. Someone on that writing staff likes Quantum Leap. I'm going to.
Someone really does.
I'm calling it. Okay, first off, these 2 specifically might be 2 of the funniest episodes that any of these shows have ever done.
Yeah, barring Legends, which is consistently funny.
I don't know if Legends gets as funny as these 2 did. Legends is consistently funny, don't get me wrong. It's consistently funnier than any other shows. I don't know if Legends, at least on average, is making me laugh as much as I was cackling. Especially anything to do with Barry and Oliver poking fun at each other. Or more specifically, Barry's poking fun at Oliver for the most part.
Yeah.
Was breaking me. There's a moment in episode 2 when all the Batman talk starts up, where not only did I laugh at Oliver being like, no, Batman's a myth, I'm the original vigilante. Not only is that funny on its own, because he's, you know, he's trying to assert himself and whatnot, but later on when they meet Kate, and Oliver says, I would never compare myself to a badass like Batman, and then he turns and just gives Oliver this shit-eating grin, and it broke me.
Yeah.
It absolutely broke me. It was hilarious. In fact, that's one of the things that made this so funny, is that a lot of the jokes are actually very meta. There's a lot of references in this to jokes that go around online based on previous
Yeah.
I almost lost it when Iris said nanites courtesy of Ray Palmer.
Ray Palmer. I know.
That has been a running gag since the Flash season 1 on the internet because it was such a stupid line at the time. But here it felt intentional. Here it felt like, hey, wink, wink.
We know.
Yeah, you're making fun of it.
Honestly, the funniest one for me was a meta joke, and it was the cut to Supergirl's Earth.
Yes, because we've been talking.
Was straight up the funniest thing I've seen on these shows.
We've been talking about, of course, that they used the farm from Smallville, and when it cut to the farm, Somebody Save Me started playing.
It killed me. It was a proper belly laugh that I let out, and I never really do that unless it gets to me.
I was laughing out loud a lot, and I likewise I don't laugh out loud that much when I'm sitting on my own watching something, even when it's funny. It has to be really funny to get me to do it. And this was making me do it quite a few times. I didn't laugh out loud at that, admittedly. That was more of a weird eye roll moment.
It was the shock of it got me. I just wasn't expecting it.
As someone who's not fond of Smallville, I was both rolling my eyes and grinning at the audacity of it.
Yeah, I have a softer spot for it that you not saying it's good by any standards, but I have a softer spot just because of what it led to for me. But oh man, that got me. I knew the farm was there, but it just got me.
No, and he even had the same aerial shot that Smallville used to have in the opening titles.
Yeah.
And it looked the same. It's the same town, you know. So whatever town they're using in Canada to mimic Smallville.
It's not changed that much.
No. So that's so yeah. It was a nice touch. Tons of humor in that first episode that was cracking me up. There was the callback to the first crossover, you know, because obviously Barry and Oliver swap places, they swap powers, and they're at the farm, and Barry sort of smirks and says, "Hey Oliver, why don't you speed up there and run back and I'll see if I can hit you with an arrow." And Oliver's like, no. Wherever you planted the remote control arrows, he's like, "Hey, I'm not you." And I just started grinning because I knew it was going to happen. So he speeds in, he grabs the arrow, and then he gets shot in the back. But the thing that made it for me was Barry jumping up and down gleefully, screaming that he's been waiting 4 years to do this.
And Oliver being like, "What the hell was that for?"
And then taking a photo.
Revenge. Joe, the first thing that properly got me to laugh was it's in the morning, you know. Oliver's woken up there, and Iris. It's all this, you know, all that stuff.
Which is very funny on its own, but we'd seen all this in the first teaser, so it wasn't, you know.
It's funny. But it wasn't like, okay, this is the moment.
There was the added element, though, of the is it my cooking? Because that's been a running gag in the Flash this year that she can't cook. So that did make me laugh.
That was funny. But it was when he finally got on the suit out of the ring, and he stands in front of the mirror in the Flash outfit, and he just goes, "What did you do this time, Barry?"
It's assuming it's Barry's fault. Or even the fact that Barry thinks it's all very funny. He's giggling at the wedding photos with Oliver's face in them, and he's laughing and joking. And then Oliver just mentions, "You know what? I'd really like to wake up in my own bed tomorrow, Barry." And he's like, "Wait, you woke up with Iris?" He's like, "Mm-hmm." And he's like, "We have to fix this right now." His tune just changes.
It does beg the question, like, because I thought, because obviously we saw Oliver wake up.
Yeah, Barry seems to just snap into it mid-fight with Diggle.
Yeah. Did Oliver wake up and being like, "I swear I was just fine with Diggle like 10 seconds ago. What a weird dream."
Yeah, there's a lot of little like quirks like that I can nitpick at if I want to.
That was the one that really stood out to me early on. I was like, wait, what?
I've got a few as we go, just little sciencey things here or there, or logic things. None of them detract for me though, because I was having so much
Still
fun.
Fantastic.
But like, there is little things like that you can pick. I even liked it was like the Arrow version of the Flash theme when Barry's like doing his first scene with Diggle. Well, not the training scene, but the taking down the bad guys. And there was like this, like it was like the Arrow horn, but doing the Flash theme, and it was just a nice
good.
touch. And so that was all hilarious. Because probably my biggest critique of the first episode actually is that Team Flash, like knocking them out and locking them up, felt quick. It felt like
it felt extreme.
Yeah, it felt like they were acting out a character just for the sake of getting them into that cell so we could have a toilet joke.
Yes, because everyone loves toilet humor.
They finally answered that there's toilets. Of course there's toilets in here, we're not inhumane.
Yeah, Oliver's like, I just spent months in a prison, and this is way worse.
No, that was good. The dislocated thumb was also hilarious.
Do you know, it was killing me because he carried on talking. I was like, his thumb's still just hanging there. You could see it every so often. I'd be like, no one's addressing it.
Yeah.
What's going? And then like 2 minutes later, Oliver just turns around and laughs because he finally sees it.
Yeah. It's just dangling there, like really stupid.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a lot of little touches in the acting, especially when I watched it the second time, because I actually watched all three of them back to back again today.
Yeah, because you had time.
And one of the things I was noticing that I really liked is after Oliver goes out with his speed powers to stop the random bad guys, it releases a Mazo, but he's not. Mazo just wakes up at the end of the fight. He's not in the scene itself. And he comes back and they're checking him out because they think, oh, he's acting weird with his powers, and obviously it's because he's never used his powers before, so he's making all these stupid mistakes. You know, he tries to throw lightning and he ends up like almost blowing up the entire building. And there's a moment where Caitlin says to him, "Oh, you're in perfect shape, Barry." You know, to Oliver, and Iris goes, "Oh yeah, you kidding me? Look at those abs, and they're all mine." She kind of hugs him a little bit, and he just gets really uncomfortable. And it says, maybe we should stop the public displays of affection in front of people. I think it's kind of insensitive. And Cisco's like, no, I'm over Gypsy, man. It's fine. You know, love away.
Yeah.
And it gets weird. Because another meta joke that I'd forgotten about until I watched it again is that he says he's feeling weird. He's going to go away, and he walks out into the hall, and then he turns around, and all four like flash
are following him in.
And they're all like, "Oh, we're all following you into the hall because you're upset." And I'm like, that's the conversation in the hall joke.
Yeah.
He's not used to people going into the hall with him to have the pep talk.
No, he's
Which
not.
Also, when they're fighting on the farm, and Oliver's trying to get a rise out of Barry, and he's getting pissed at him. He's like, yeah, you need Team Flash in your ear. And he's like, Felicity invented quarterbacking. What are you talking about? It's like, well, you can't go 9 hours without a sappy pep talk. And I'm like, they're pointing out all the flaws in their own writing.
No. When they're trying to convince Iris that it's really who they say they are, and Barry says to Oliver, "Just tell her that she's your lightning rod," and Oliver's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it works every time."
And it does. Later on, when he says it works.
It does. It was great.
Actually, one of my favorite things is it's after they get out and Iris. No, actually, it's before they lock them up. It's when they're still trying to convince them in the main bit of Star Labs, and Iris kind of like brushes, Oliver's arm or whatever, thinking it's Barry, and walks off. And Barry just says, "If you don't you dare touch her." And Oliver says, "I wasn't." He's like, "Yeah, but you were thinking it." See if you pay close attention. Oliver's got this giant grin in his face as he says, "I wasn't."
I know.
He's just kind of.
It's also when she touches his shoulder, like Barry gives Oliver this dial. He just snaps his head at him. It's like, what are you doing? Be
so
careful.
Good. And one of the things I like about it as well is that the way that it works Supergirl into the plot, it's like, hey, everyone on our Earth's affected by this. We have to try and get Kara. Like, she might still know it's us and she can help. Yeah. And so they make the proactive choice to go to her for help, which leads us to Earth 38, which leads us to the Kent farm.
Which leads us to Lois.
Which leads us to Lois. And obviously they convinced Iris that everything, he's like, Iris actually senses it, that this is really Barry in there. Which is notable for episode 2 because I've got a lot of jokes about Felicity that I want to make when we get there. But so they get to the farm. We meet Lois, and what did you think? What did you think of Lois? What did you think of?
I think she's fantastic. What more do you want? She's Lois.
She's pretty great. There was the odd line, moment that was maybe just slightly off for what I think of Lois saying something, but.
Yeah.
I'm talking minor. Like I'm not. Like,
can you recall any examples?
It was just the inflect. It wasn't even the lines of dialogue. It was like just a slight inflection in a word here or there. And I know that sounds really nitpicky, but I feel like after reading so many comics and after like seeing so many versions of Lois, like, what I'm saying is that she's not exactly Terry Hatcher. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no one is.
But I like her better than most of the other ones. So,
Yeah, me too.
And we've only, we've had like what, 2 guest starring episodes of her. That's
She
it.
probably had about 15-20 minutes of screen time, if that.
If that, yeah. But yeah, no, she's calling Clark Smallville. There's that moment where she's like, "Oh, you'll catch me," when he's warning her about the ladder. Just do sweet little things. Giving Clark shit for not letting her write an article about Argo because she went to Argo with him. He's like, "Hey, people are going to ask questions why you went with Superman to Argo City." He's like, "Well, tough. I'm a journalist and I want to write about Krypton." And Kara's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of on her side."
And she lists all these big stories that she's broken in the past to do with him. And it's like, no one questioned it then.
Yeah. Also, Mr. Integrity coming from the guy who writes about Superman, who he secretly is.
Yeah. Everything with them was great. Even when Barry and Oliver first got there, and
Oliver puffing out his chest, man.
Yeah, Barry's like, "You puffing out your chest," and I was just like, "Yes," doesn't deny it.
Oh, jeez, it's so good. And then obviously our yelling Deck and Barry was glorious. So we've talked a lot about the comedy. We've talked about Lois and how Lois and Clark feel like Lois and Clark, and it feels genuine, which is great.
Because there has been, the actress who played Lois did mention that producers have spoke to her about maybe doing a Superman show at some point.
Yeah, it's funny because we had those rumors like a couple of months ago, and then they were quickly debunked.
Yeah,
and it was like, okay, fair enough. And it's funny because I feel like when we get to part 3 of this, I feel like they burned through some big Superman like plot points that could have been like big deals in his own show.
But it also alternatively makes it really interesting. So, okay, if you're starting your show at that point, with Superman,
that's true.
I'm down for that.
But hey, if they wanted to do a show, if they want to like give Supergirl like 1 or 2 more seasons, and then that's the end of that, and then we kick into Superman, and then we can have Supergirl guest star occasionally, flip it.
Yeah, why not? But I mean, like I say, it was just rumors for all. But
yeah,
this is the actress herself saying, no, they've spoken that it's a possibility. She said that reception to them during this crossover was a part of this.
I have seen nothing but positive buzz about them.
Yeah, of course, it's not the only factor, and she admitted that, but it's something they're paying attention to. If people are going, "Oh no, we don't like them," they're not going to bother, are they?
I think it's the sort of thing where they'll maybe look at it more seriously when they think Supergirl might be ending.
Yeah.
But I've got some thoughts on replacement things when we get to the end of this Elseworlds discussion. So that's the thing. So we've talked a lot about the humor. We've talked about Lois because she's obviously the big new element, and it's great to see Clark again. It's been a while, and he's been on Argo.
This is the first time we've properly seen him as Clark, right?
No. Remember he came to Daily Planet.
Yeah. We had
Catco.
like a little bit with him, but like this is, I don't know. This feels like the first time we got on this side of Clark, rather than just we get a little bit there.
I don't know. I mean, because he was with Kara, so he was constantly not hiding anything.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it wasn't like he was constantly talking to people he couldn't be himself around. So it still felt like Clark. But obviously, seeing him with Lois is a big deal. And we've talked a lot about like the new stuff there, and we've talked a lot about the humor because it was really funny. And we'll get back to the jokes.
We will.
In fact, one of my favorite jokes is coming up here. But I want to get to some of the character drama here because basically Oliver and Barry kind of realize that they kind of unlock the potential in each other's abilities when they actually start to act more like one another, right? When Barry gets angry, he becomes a better Green Arrow. When Oliver actually starts smiling and having fun, he becomes a better Flash, and it's kind of like the difference between the characters. And I think it's important because I actually think this trio of episodes does a really good job of giving a little like character arc and message that it feels important going forward.
This beat here felt like, okay, that's cool, it makes sense.
Yeah, it felt fine on its own for this episode, but
when you get to the end, you're like, oh, okay, that was important to establish that.
Yeah, and I love that Kara like comes out because also I actually want to mention online. Kara is talking about the whole who are you thing with the president from last episode, and she brings up that Kat asked her that once and said Kat was scarier. I just like that line.
I like that Clark's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they're just laughing about it. But she comes out and says, superhero, and I've been waiting for you to realise this, you idiots, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we get our Trinity kind of coming together properly for the episodes. And episode 2 especially felt like, no, this is our Trinity of this universe. And It felt like when they were going around and investigating, and as a team, this is our trinity.
Do you know what annoys me?
Yeah.
This crossover makes me hate Arrow more, and to the extent a little bit of Flash and Supergirl at times as well. I'm like, no, you can all be better.
You can. I think it's one of the reasons why I think it might actually be such a quality jump typically for these crossovers is that because they're kind of treated as miniseries where, okay, here's the story. We only have like 4 episodes, 3 episodes, whatever to tell the story. We have to think about how we pace it. We have to think about the script. And I think they give it more time and attention than the rest of it.
Because it's not about the budget. Because sure, they're doing bigger things here and there, but the writing, the jokes, the interactions,
yeah,
all
obviously,
of that you could do on its own.
There is a bigger budget, and when I say bigger budget, I don't think they get awarded a bigger budget for these episodes. I think they intentionally save money because they they all get budget for the seasons, and I think they save money for the crossover so they can do some bigger things. But as you're saying, it's not just that. It's the comedy, it's the interaction, it's the character drama. It just tends to be better.
It is,
or at least it has done these past couple of years.
I think it's especially notable in this one with Oliver. I think it's like no, this is a man talking sense. This is a man who knows to have fun at times. He can smile, but also be an angry dickbag when he needs to be.
Yeah, and he's also got very good comic timing, which his own show does not make use of much.
He's wasted on that show.
Yeah, which is whatever, but. But no, one of my favorite little jokes here is when they're saying about they have to act more like each other, and Kara tells Oliver to smile more, and he's like, well, what does Barry do? And she's like, I'm the Green Arrow, and she does this voice, and it was the most adorable thing ever.
Delightful, wasn't it?
Oh, jeez. But of course, during all this, Amazo's causing chaos in Central City, and Cisco shows up saying, hey, we kind of believe you guys now. Which, by the way, we never even mentioned, the first time it cuts to Central City in this episode, there's red skies, and I'm like, red skies?
Yeah. Do you know what? I have a thing on the red skies.
Yes.
It bothered me that when it gets to the second episode, the red skies show up, in Star City, right?
Yeah, they moved apparently to follow the 2 characters that it's affecting.
Okay, fine. Why don't they show up in Gotham as
Yeah, that was a good question. They never really
and follow them to Gotham.
Address that. They weren't really. Okay, no, because it wasn't following them. It was Barry from Earth 90 trying to break through, who then went. He was trying to break through in Central City, and then he went to Star City. He was following them, and then didn't realize they moved, so he was just still in Star City for the rest of the episode, trying to break through.
All right, fine. Joe, when he does that, I think it was in the second episode that I'm thinking of. Horrific flashbacks to BVS.
I knew you were going to say that, but to be fair, they both took it from the comics. So
I know, but it was just the visual of it, and it was what he was saying.
Yeah,
it was.
It is straight out of the comic. I think it's the original Crisis that has a moment like this where Flash comes and speaks to Batman. So it's not.
No, I think it was specifically the dialogue. It was it was what he was saying that was bothering me.
I get it, but I don't think it was a reference to that movie. I think it was a reference to the comic.
And it's not bad in this. I'm not saying this is a problem. It just I didn't like that it made me think about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Elongated Man and who's with them? Killer Frost. They get their ass handed to them by Amazo, who's actually proper Amazo and is taking their powers and shit.
Yeah.
And Cisco's like, hey, we'll help you, but can you come back and deal with the killer robot that's doing everything, please? And they're like, all right, okay, we'll go back. And Supergirl's coming, obviously, and she's like, hey, Clark, do you want to tag along? And Cisco's like, who are you? And then she rips open his shirt. It's like, yes!
Yeah. I know.
And he comes back and he's like, I brought the big guns. And this is the thing, like this back half of the episode, the action scene where they're all fighting Amazo. I mean, sure, Barry and Oliver are swapped, but there's a point in the middle of it where they're all working together, and I was just like, this is a Justice League scene. This is a Justice League fighting a villain scene.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And this is the stuff where, okay, this is where your budget goes into. Right? These sequences. And this, I don't expect this every week on the shows.
I don't think this one's too much more. I think there's stuff in episode 3 that I think is definitely where the extra budget went. But
even in this, I think that it's a little bit above average.
Sure.
And it's fine. But, I don't need it to be this every week. But I just the overall quality could be raised.
Yeah, and there was some nice touches in here actually, because in terms of them like trying to pretend to be each other, there was a lot of little subtle things that you notice in the dialogue if you were paying attention. Where after they first think they've beaten Amazo, Oliver says "good job" and smiles, and then Barry goes, "We got lucky," right? And I'm like, that was just a nice little touch. And of course you have the joke where Oliver in the flash shoot at the start says you'll fail this city, even though it doesn't make any sense in the context. And then Barry says it in the Green Arrow suit towards the end, but just before he takes down Amazo, and it makes no sense in the context.
So they're doing it anyway.
But they're doing it anyway because it's the catchphrase.
I did like how when he said that, when Oliver said it at the start.
Yeah.
I think it was Cisco's like, "Hey, and like kind of Oliver's thing."
I think the exact line was, "Hey, that's not your line." So no, that was good, but the actual fighting was good. It was kind of nice how they all fit into the fight. Because once it had their powers, and it was like, okay, this is even more dangerous. It was like, all right, Oliver with the speed powers has to lure him back in, and then the two supers can grab him because he can't phase and run at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure Barry's done that on the show, but that's neither here nor there.
I think they're going by the logic of Amazo has to swap between things that he's doing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Not sure how Barry knows that.
Because Barry's ran and went through a wall, which to me is running and phasing at the same time.
No, I agree, but I don't know if Amazo might not be
I suppose you could argue that he just jumps at the wall, and then when he's in air, he's not fast anymore. He's just propelled himself, and then he's vibrating.
You could argue that, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, but yeah, I liked how when it cut to like Superman and Supergirl, they're just walking side by side, and it feels like, oh no, here's the heavy guns. Like,
it's like, bring it on.
Yeah. And they'll have to work together, and then Barry shoots in the computer chip arrow, whatever it is, the little
the hacking thing.
Hack him. Yeah. And then Frenchy Wells with his alimony check for Superman. Can I trust him after he leaves? I can trust him, right?
Yeah.
You want me to deliver your alimony check? Yes, my third wife's on her 38. Can you please do that? Wait, I don't know why, but I never noticed till this episode that why it's her 38.
Go on.
That's when Superman was debuted.
Oh, right, yeah.
1938.
Sorry, I thought I was missing something. Yeah.
This is a nice touch. I never realised that's why they picked that number until
yeah.
I was like, oh, 38, duh.
Yeah, I'm with it.
So they beat Amazo, and Clark's like, hey, I should probably go and guard our Earth, right, in case something happens. And he's like, yeah, that's fair enough. But Kara's going to stay and help them because they've got this problem to deal with. So they have to try and figure it out. It is a bit weird how you don't see it. Like, it felt weird to me that in episode 3 you don't see like Iris and co like at the end just a little bit because they're in Central City. It's just kind of weird that they never appear at all. But it's minor thing.
Yeah. Do you know, I've seen a lot of people really complain about Iris's treatment in this episode.
Okay.
They think it's outrageous that there's people having a journalism debate without Iris present. Because when Clark, Lois, and Kara are all talking about it.
That's a different Earth.
No, I know. They're saying, oh, Iris should have gone with them.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'd have liked that. That'd have been fun to have her interact with them. But my request there is not based on how dare they have a journalism conversation without Iris present.
No, I know, but there are a lot of people on Twitter who I've seen who think that in the 10 minutes in that first episode, whatever it is, Lois is treated better than Iris has ever been treated on her show. I'm like, I don't agree with that.
As a journalist, maybe.
As a journalist, sure.
As a character, I wouldn't say so. I think Iris has had a lot of... Hey, I've not seen
questionable motives.
Lois has not dived off a building to rescue someone, so...
If she tries diving off a building to rescue Soups, I got issues.
No, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, I would like them to interact. I think it'd be fun if like her, Kara, and Lois all had like a journalism thing because that'd be a fun interaction. But I'm not mad.
I didn't feel like I was missing it.
No, no. If anything, Iris gets some decent treatment in this because she actually sees through the facade and realizes it's Barry. We'll get to Felicity in the next part. So yeah, everything's averted and Superman goes back home. and the team are like, okay, what can we do? But Cisco, of course, in the middle of the episode, vibed, the Monitor, giving the book to Deegan. Actually, that was the start of the episode, is Deegan getting the book, and he's given this class how he wants to, like, alter people's genealogy to make people super, and, everyone's like, you're a mad scientist, go away. And then the Monitor's like, hey, you seem like a reasonable fellow. Here, have the Book of Destiny that'll alter reality. Have at it. Now, his motives actually make a bit more sense when you learn them later, but right now it felt really random. Just like, yeah, here, madman.
It'd feel weird, yeah.
Madman, here, do what you want.
Yeah.
And actually, much to my surprise, they did kind of show that scene from Earth 90 at the start. They cut it down, though. They edited it down. It wasn't all the whole thing.
No, but it was there at the start.
Which I didn't think they needed. I felt...
Do you know what I think it is? I think this is for when they inevitably do the spliced together version
The movie.
of the DVD. It's like, here you go. That's there.
I guess that makes sense, yeah. Yeah. But hey, I mean, again, it's not a big complaint. It was just like, I've seen this 3 times already. Like, I don't need to see it 4.
I think it's because they know there's people who will watch this episode
That's true.
that haven't seen the rest of the season. I've spoken to like 5 or 6 people today who are like, hey, can I jump in to just watch this crossover, even though I've not seen the shows in like 2 years?
For the most part, you can. I mean, actually, what's funny is that I think this and the last 2 crossovers, you could probably just watch almost those as movies and just have like each one be a sequel to the last movie.
I think you can. I said, there's a couple of little contextual things that are relevant to the individual shows, but
kind of like actual comic events.
Yeah, nothing major, nothing that, you need to know this before you go in. You'll pick it up.
Yeah, no, it actually works kind of well standalone for the most part. I mean, they're all kind of contextually in the place they are in their own shows. They all kind of bring up their current circumstance.
Yeah, but...
they mention Cicada briefly, they mention, Nora's not around, oddly, but I guess she did speed off to the future last episode, so she's just kind of...
Yeah, this is the first episode of the season without Nora, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be funny for her to show up actually and start calling Oliver Death.
I guess she just knew that this was going to happen. It's like, nope, I'm staying out of that one.
Especially since Oliver probably doesn't know about Nora yet, so that'd have been really funny. Just have this, 30-year-old woman walk in the room and be like, "Hey, Dad," and he's like, "Barry, what did you do?" Barry went back in time and impregnated someone.
Oh, classic Barry.
So, yeah, so they get Oliver and Barry have a peek into Cisco's vision, and the Monitor can sense them watching, and like, Meta's, I didn't realize you'd be this powerful. Well, it's all for nothing, but yes, come at me, basically.
Pretty much.
And then Oliver speed draws, by way of Jim Lee, a drawing of the vision.
I thought it might have been Jim Lee.
I was
looking at the second episode.
They confirmed it in Twitter.
Yeah. I didn't look at because we spoke about it after we watched the first panel. I wasn't sure, so I was looking for it in the second one. I was like, I think that's Jim Lee.
Yeah, but he's like, that's Wayne Tower right there. So we know where that is. We're going to go to Gotham, and even just hearing Oliver say we're going to Gotham City is a pretty notable cliffhanger. But it's funny, watching it the second time, I realised that the Batwoman theme started kicking in as soon as he started the drawing. As soon as the drawing was done, the drums started kicking in. Which, by the way, Batwoman theme, I'm loving it.
It's pretty great.
I think it's actually really impressive that all of these shows have good main themes. For the most part. Arrow's is probably the weakest.
But it does work in that show.
It does work in that show. I mean, it's basically just like this one kind of horn noise that he has.
No, it's got the string bit as well.
Oh, sure. Whenever they do something heroic very quickly, it's usually just the now kind of noise.
The rising horn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas Barry's got a couple of chords where it's like dun, and then maybe there'll be a second phrase of it if the occasion calls for it.
Yeah. Just transpose up a bit and do the same again.
Yeah, Supergirl's got a little flutter of dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
They've all got a little thing, but no, this is good, and it cuts to Gotham, and it's like the city shot, and it goes up the building, and Batwoman's standing there.
This is the shot that they used for the Batwoman teaser for Elseworlds.
Yeah.
So you probably saw this before for a lot of people.
Yeah, you didn't see it with the music though.
No, they didn't.
The music adds a lot to that shot, and the shot is quite good. I think it's funny because I think people can joke that a Batman or Batwoman show will be a lot like Arrow, because Arrow's been kind of aping Batman in a lot of ways, but I think they did a good job with this shot and then our stuff in the second episode of making her presence and her combat and the way it's shot, how she stands on buildings, feels different to when Oliver does it. It feels very different.
Yeah, I think it's very obvious to me as to why they did the Batwoman stuff in the Arrow episode.
Yeah.
In the sense that they used one of the staple Arrow directors. They used Bamford, who does a lot of the Arrow stunt work as well, and he's very good. He's probably one of the best crew members on Arrow. He's behind the episode that we actually liked a couple of weeks ago.
There you go. Yeah.
So it makes sense to me to do it on that show. If you're doing hand-to-hand combat, they're the people who already kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah. So I mean that's part one. That's part one of the crossover, and there may be some little details we missed and might go back to as we dart around. But moving on to the Arrow part of the crossover, they're going to Gotham. We start off in Star City though. There's like a weird random fight scene with Deathstroke's son.
Yeah, I guess couldn't get Man and Bennett back.
I mean they established it as a thing now. Although I'd forgotten that it's Joey, but he's written more like Grant.
Yeah.
Which is whatever, but also, how come Diggle and like 5 like people with machine guns all fire at him as he's walking right towards them, and they all somehow don't hit him? Like
Plot force.
It's a minor thing. I don't really care, but it stuck out to me, especially on the second time. I'm like,
Speed Force, bro.
And red skies and yada yada yada, and then Diggle's like, you three are together. This is bad. This is bad news.
To get appropriate response.
Yeah, actually, one of the best meta jokes on Flash is when they're describing how bad things are, and Ralph just goes, "But it's not even Tuesday," because of course Flash aired on Sunday this week because it's spelled with Supergirl. That was a really funny line.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, it reminded me of Dawn's in Trouble. It must be Tuesday.
Yes.
From the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the musical episode in season 6. Once more with feeling. Anyway, so
a lot of shows do that joke.
True. But still, that's the one that I go to first.
Do you know what annoys me?
Yes.
Is I felt there was a really easy Buffy reference later in a different show. I don't know why you took this one. Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Oh, I know what you're thinking of. Oh, I'll be making references. Funny enough, it references the same character even.
Yeah.
And given how long this is going, we may have to record the second part of this tomorrow. This might go up in 2 halves anyway, just because this will be long enough for a release on its own.
Get Elseworlds, have it.
So technically, it'll be a separate episode.
Does that screw up your numbering system? Do you do a 0.5?
Nah, it'll just be two of their own numbers.
Inflating the numbers.
If the content's there to back up, it's fine. I mean, the tomorrows will be a bit shorter, admittedly, but
yeah,
it'll be an hour long at least. That's fine.
It's fine. We can go an hour on Legends.
Oh, we can tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, the sirens are spaced. Hey, I want it. All right, so they go to Gotham, and right away, even when they're on their way, and Oliver's trying to say to Barry, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't come because you're actually like a known vigilante." At which point, again, it felt like a meta joke. Barry's like, "Hey, could you put your hood up? You might be public now, but I'm not." And I'm like, "Barry, you cannot talk. You cannot talk."
You whip off that hood for anyone who asks.
And what's funny is when he says Batman's an urban legend, and because Barry just mentions it very casually. He's like, "Oh, I mean, I can't remember what the line is. He just mentions maybe we'll run into Batman or something." And he says, Oliver said it's an urban legend, which is fine. I'm okay with that. That's the tactic, right? He's an urban legend. That's fine. Yeah. I can accept that. To a point. I mean, it's a bit. We find out so many of his big rogues gallery villains have been functional that it's kind of weird that Batman's still a myth, but whatever. Right? But when he says that it's an urban legend, obviously Barry reacts to it, but I like paying attention to Kara's reaction, especially. It was the second time I watched it. Knowing. Yeah. That she reveals a lot about what she knows later. I was watching her reaction to like him saying that, and he's like, "No, I'm the original vigilante," and I'm like, "Oh."
To be fair, she could consider that there is just no Batman on this earth.
She could, but given that Barry even mentioned it, means that
Yeah.
What's the chances that it's real on her earth, but it's a myth on this earth?
Slim.
Yeah. So they go apparently to the top of the GCPD because the bat signal's right there.
Yeah, why not?
But I like that, and again the Batwoman theme kicked in. We get another standing on a building shot, which was nice.
I'm digging these.
I'm digging them a lot. Again, this episode continued the theme, which was let's roast Oliver Queen, because he's like, "Yeah, I know a woman in Gotham. You know, I was with, we did a thing, I was trying to prove that, Queen Consolidated wasn't dirty, 10 years ago, whatever.
And Barry's like, you slept with her then.
Yeah. Supergirl's like, oh, you got around, didn't you, back in the day?
And he's like, I don't know, I might have done, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then Barry's like, once he cheated on his girlfriend with his sister. And Kara's like, what? No, I don't want to hear this. And I'm like, yeah, that's how we started the show.
I just want to say, with her sister, not his sister. That's way creepier.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, but just, you made that way worse.
Yeah, but no, all of it cracking me up.
Yeah.
So can we just talk about the corner of Nolan and Burton, please, for a second? Can we talk about that?
We can talk about it if you want, but I mean,
because they always use writers' names, but they went with directors for the Gotham streets.
Both are deserving of a street name.
Yeah, honestly, my only awkward reference to Gotham, or to like the idea that we've not talked about Batman before, was the one where Oliver says, "This is why we don't talk about Gotham, because it may as well be dead," which bothered me for two reasons. One, it felt on the nose. You're just kind of pointing out that we don't talk about it. And secondly, it actually has been referenced once or twice in the last couple of years. So that one just kind of stuck out to me. It's like, you're over explaining this. You don't explain it. Just let it be vague. It's fine.
Yeah. And I feel like it goes back on it. Like, they mentioned, okay, Bruce Wayne's been gone for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Didn't we get some on Arrow where Bruce Wayne said something? Or, when he mentioned
No, it wasn't Bruce Wayne said something. He just casually mentioned Bruce Wayne.
Right, okay.
He dropped a joke off, I'm a vigilante, maybe Bruce Wayne is too. That was the...
Yeah.
That was the joke. That was like 2 years ago, though, so it wouldn't have been missing for long at that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, yeah, so they ran into this gang immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah, you're in Gotham. You're getting mugged like right away.
Yeah.
Which is funny. It's funny because I thought Gotham doesn't look super unique, but they did like make a point of like, I don't know if they had a shot of Chicago or if there's a place in Canada that has the same sort of bridges, but
yeah,
they had a shot of that kind of area, and I was like, oh, they've actually kind of made an effort here to make it look different.
It looked pretty grimy, at least.
It did. Nah, I like that Wayne Tower even inside is all graffiti, and there's like
it's shit. Yeah.
There's like grass growing out the corners and shit.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch. But they get arrested here. Barry goes all Oliver Queen on the gang and starts beating the shit out of them.
Yeah, and the police turn up, and Oliver's like, "Hey, stand down."
Yeah. Yeah, Supergirl catches a bullet, but what I love about this is afterwards when they're in the cell, because this is what I mean when this really feels like they're the trinity of this world, right? Because they're in like the jail cell afterwards, and like they're debating like, Oliver, you escalated or Barry, you were escalating that, and Oliver, you weren't doing anything. You say you were calming the situation, but you weren't. And then Kara's like, hey, I'd have just like sped us out of there at super speed, and there'd have been a gust of wind. And Oliver just without hesitating says, well, hindsight's 2020. In the future, we'll refer to you. I'm like, yes, listen to her. Yes. It is such a Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman relationship where not that Superman gets as petty as this, but just in the sense that Batman and Superman are being boys, and Wonder Woman has to kind of step in and be like, right,
yeah,
stop it right now.
Yeah,
let's do this. Can we also talk about Laurel 2.0 being called to get them out of jail, and she responds with, they could use a night in jail.
2 weeks after Oliver's just spent 6 months in prison.
I know, he just got out. But then someone posts their bail, and they get led to Wayne Tower, and we meet Kate Kane. So
before we get into Kate Kane,
yes,
I feel like we should rewind and talk about the pre-Gotham stuff with the Arrow cast.
Well, it wasn't necessarily pre; it was kind of intercutting a lot of
it. No, the stuff with them before.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah, before they leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they get obviously they get told off camera about the situation, about them swapping, and the jokes they're in.
Just Diggle and Curtis.
Yeah, and then Felicity comes in and they've not told her, and then they make a point of not telling her.
Yeah.
Because she says to Barry's like, oh, I know things are rough right now, but I'll still help you. He's like, they're rough.
And he's like, things are rough. What's going on? He looks at Oliver. It's like, what's going on, dude?
Yeah. Oh yes, they're rough, and that's sad. Yeah, no, that was good, because it all leads to the thing where I laughed actually. Cisco's appearance really made me laugh, because Curtis and Felicity, I think we need Cisco, and Cisco just walks in going, "I've been summoned." That really cracked me up. But yeah, so Cisco drops the body swap thing's happening, and Felicity's asking about it, and I was kind of waiting for Felicity, because I think the worst two scenes of this episode, and arguably the whole crossover, are the two Felicity scenes that come later, where it's moping about, you know, her relationship with Oliver. But
do you know what would have redeemed those scenes?
Yeah,
and it is probably my biggest disappointment of this crossover, is that Oliver didn't tell her that she's his lightning rod. He learned nothing from Barry.
But this scene's gold because Cisco casually mentions as well that Iris was the only one who could kind of see through it at first. Like she like could tell it was Barry, and it's, you know, it was like lover's intuition. And then Diggle's like, no, just shut up. No, that's not what happened. And then it's like, no, it did. It was like lover's intuition. It was like love it. You know, it was like beyond the boundaries of time and space. This love, this everlasting love. And Felicity's just standing there like moping because she couldn't tell that Oliver was different.
Yeah. Caitlin has to come and talk to her later, and it's like, I mean, Iris has had experience with this stuff. I guess she's just more used to expecting it.
The funny thing is the amount of time that Felicity had to like suss that something was wrong is actually less time than Iris had before she got to the point where she accepted it anyway. But this was still worth it for the comedy.
It was, yeah.
Because if we're roasting Felicity, I'll take it.
Any excuse, right?
I'll take it. But yeah, so they get to Kate Kane, and I guess first thing, how do we feel about Kate Kane's, or Ruby Rosie's performance as Kate Kane?
I think she's fantastic.
You think she's fantastic?
I haven't got a bad word to say.
That was really positive. I think her line delivery for a couple of things felt a bit rushed, oddly. Like, see the moment where she says her name's Kate Kane, she's like, Kate Kane. She says it really quickly, and it's like, oh, right, okay. There's like a natural pause.
I don't know if there is.
Have a natural
Kate
pause.
Kane.
No. She says Kane, Kate Kane, like, you know, like Bond, James Bond.
Yeah.
Right, and she says it really quickly. Like she doesn't like have enough of a pause between like Kane and then Kate Kane.
Yeah, to me, this is just her being really blunt and direct and just getting through it. I feel like that to me is Kate Kane.
It was a pacing of the dialogue for me. It wasn't like it's nothing to do with characteristics or how she would say it versus someone else. It just felt too quick.
Okay, I didn't feel like it was personally.
So it's a minor it's a minor nitpick. I liked her for the most part. I think she has presence, especially as Batwoman. I think her as Kate isn't as good as Batwoman, but is promising enough that I'm down for her to grow.
I don't think like, you know, as Kate she's amazing. Like there's so much there, but I mean she doesn't have that much as Kate, you know, really. And I don't have anything bad to say about her.
Yeah, like I said, it's just minor. It's just minor. You know, she's you know, she's doing an accent for her. It's not her natural accent, so there was just the odd line just felt a little bit.
No, fair enough.
Just a little bit off.
And I never felt that personally.
Not a big deal though. Not enough to like detract really from it or make me have a negative opinion. Just
yeah.
But there was a little of that there. I imagine either she'll get better at that throughout her own show, which it'll get greenlit because it's CW, or it won't, and I'll just get used to the way she does her lines, and it's fine.
Yeah, that will stop bothering you pretty quickly.
Yeah, but so password to the Wi-Fi is Alfred. That's important.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be?
Doesn't seem that secure, but I'll allow it.
Kara grilling her. Yeah, it's funny how Bruce Wayne and Batman both disappeared at the same time. Kate gives this big speech about how no, you know, when the Batman disappeared, Gotham went to shit, and it had a toll on Bruce. He didn't leave without a fight, and I believe that last part.
Knows,
but
right?
What was that?
Kara definitely just knows.
Oh, she does know. She confirms later she knows.
Yeah, but we know before that she knew that it was him. Like, you know, that she knew Batman's identity on her Earth. Did we know that before?
Oh no, we didn't know that she knew that on her, on her show. No,
no, that's fine.
In this episode, it's eventually very clear that she knows.
It is, yeah. But I was even in this scene, I was like, she knows, surely. Like, but I wasn't sure if we'd ever had that moment of them ever mentioned.
There's been a reference that Superman works with Batman, but there's never been like anything beyond that.
That's cool.
Although it's fine, we can say Batman now. Like she can say it whenever it comes up now.
Yeah, yeah. No more is.
Yes. But yeah, but so there's this thing. So they're talking about what to do, and like Oliver's is doing a bit of hacking. He's like, "Yeah, I used to be good at this before Felicity took over." um, and Supergirl is going to go fly around the city and use her X-ray vision, but she ends up like running into Kate because Kate's kind of spying on them as she does, keeping track of what's going on. And yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes of the episode. Actually, is them just kind of because it feels like a Trinity, right? But I think even the real Trinity, by real I just mean Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, right? Has kind of the same problem where sometimes it feels like there's a duo first. There's the world's finest, and then there's the Trinity. So Wonder Woman always, but inherently feels like the third one, right?
She does occasionally third wheel a bit.
Yeah, and it's this episode. This story started with Barry and Oliver, and then in episode 3, Kara gets imprisoned, and it's them two again on their own. So sometimes it can feel like she's the third one, which sucks. You don't want her to get shafted because she's the best actor of the 3 for a start. But
it is. But at the same time, it's like, well, in terms of this universe, she came last.
She did
in
come
the shows.
Last. But what I like about this is that this is almost like her, like natural. Obviously, there's more of this later in another scene, but like her verbally sparring, and it was not even sparring per se, but it kind of is to a point where she's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Oh yeah, Bruce Wayne's my cousin," and she's like, "Cousin, hey, oh, that's
I might know something about that."
That's funny. And yes, I noticed the head bust the old Batman '60s show. Yes, I noticed it. And she's like, yeah, my cousin knows Bruce, and I'm like, oh, dude, what? What's this, Kara? What's this? Yes, they're friends. Well, frenemies. And I'm like, oh, she knows. Yeah. She knows everything.
Yes, she does.
And this is the point where I went, wait, is Batman the first character that's confirmed on both Earths? I think he is. Oh no, actually that's not true. Laurel. Black Siren.
That's Earth 2 though. Or Earth 3.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That's Earth 3.
It's Earth 2.
2?
I think it's 2, yeah. Yeah, Zoom was from Earth 2. All that stuff was Earth 2.
Yeah, that's 2.
So she's on Earth 2 and Earth 1. But everyone on Earth 1 was on Earth 2 as well, though. Because there was a Barry, there was an Iris, there was everything.
I mean, it's worth noting that Alex is on 1 and 38.
Apparently, according to episode 3. But at this point...
At this point, yes.
But this is Batman's the first one that's confirmed to be on both. Which, even though we've never seen him, and might never see him, although I think it'll happen eventually in Batwoman, he's mythologically speaking become one of the most central figures of the whole universe.
I'm okay with that. It's Batman.
He's the damn Batman.
No, it's the goddamn Batman.
It's the goddamn Batman. I was going to say that, and I just kind of flopped it. It was fine.
You did. And I couldn't let it go.
So, yeah. So they figure out John Deegan, and she's like, Arkham Asylum. So she goes off to suit up. Actually, probably my biggest complaint with Ruby Rose's performance, which I don't think is her fault, I think it's the director's fault, is when she goes to suit up, and she has this intense stare on her face, like the moment she's in the elevator, all the way up to the suit, and then she stares at the suit for 5 seconds before it cuts. I think the director made a mistake in telling her to hold that face that entire time, because it looks silly.
Here's the thing. I think she was right to hold the face in terms of all those moments. I think we see it for too long.
Sure.
There's a difference. I think it's in the edit. It doesn't cut away from her enough.
Yeah, I think she's just too intense when she comes down the elevator, and then she holds it the entire time.
Okay.
And it felt a little bit just bordering on silly how long she was holding this face for. The face itself was fine. I think it was a direction problem. It was just no, have it change or cut away from it or whatever. But so she sits up and they go to Arkham, and Cisco and Diggle and Caitlin show up, and they're here to help. Yeah.
So just to go back over to the when the no, that's later. Carry on. You've watched it twice. You know better than I do.
Okay.
It's fine. This was 2 days ago. I watched this now, so it's a little bit blood.
So they go to Arkham, pretending that Caitlin's a psychopath, and
I like how they're like, "Well, what's wrong with her?" It's like, "Well, there's cold shit, basically." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, we got a few of those."
Yeah, we got a few of those. A few cold-based villains here. That's fine.
Yeah.
We have all the Easter eggs in the doors. Basil Carlo, Edward Nigma, Poison Ivy, or Pamela Isley, more specifically. Which ends with the joke of Mark Guggenheim.
That was so funny.
It was funny. I'm not going to lie, it was funny.
Because obviously he was in charge of this crossover.
Yeah, he show ran for the crossover essentially.
Yeah, and fair play to the guy. Going, all right, fine, put it in there.
Yeah, he had some poke some fun at himself. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that we see all these names, and then when all the cells open, like a minute later, it's just a bunch of random. Is it Psycho Pirate? Everyone else is just a random guy that's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was a little disappointing.
It's a little bit weird, but then it would have been even weirder though if Diggle has his scene where he fights them all single-handedly, and he's taking out like all the supervillains from Batman.
That would have been so weird.
But I also get obviously they're going to cast them here because they'll probably want to cast all these characters at some point in their own show, but and make a point of casting someone good, which you're not going to do for a cameo in this.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they've recast people.
That's true. I think here though, because they know they're doing the show.
I mean, sure, yeah, I don't blame them.
It'd be a weird choice. And they go to Deegan, who knows who's who, and like, okay, he's got the book. Do you know what? I really like the visual of Supergirl flying around the building, like inside the building, like going down the hallways. I thought that just looked kind of different than normal.
It's something we don't usually see, is it?
Yeah. I just thought it was cool. And
yeah.
Diggle has his big fight scene. Oliver's speeding in and putting all the... I spilled my drink for a little bit. Just a little bit. It's fine. And Barry's Oliver's speeding around and putting all the inmates back in their cells. But of course, the real excitement comes from outside because Barry... Which, by the way, Oliver dressed Barry because they're not in costume at this point. And... Oliver speeds out and just dresses Barry quickly, and he's just in his Green Arrow outfit now, and I'm like, that was intimate.
Yeah.
Remember
they're very comfortable with themselves.
Do you remember in season 1 of The Flash when Barry did this to Caitlin, and she was like drunk, and she was like, "Oh, you cut a peak, didn't you? You cut a peak. I wouldn't even blame you.
Yeah,
you've earned a peak."
That was the great singing episode.
Sure. But yeah, so this is when Batwoman actually shows up. Which, even before Batwoman shows up, can I just talk about Cisco getting hit by the van?
Yeah.
That was like a proper stuntman taking a hit. that shot
looked pretty good.
It looked good, yeah. It was actually kind of funny just how violent it looked.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. That was funny. Batwoman though lands on the van and she grabs someone up who screams. It's definitely a little bit in the cheesy side of how to portray a Batman character because the way the villain screams is very kind of over the top. But yeah. I'm not against that as our Batman show or a Batwoman show because
I'm fine with that angle.
Yeah, uses a batarang, uses the grapple hook. I think the big thing for me was how they shot it completely differently to how Oliver usually functions.
I love the way the batarang returned.
Yeah, I loved how she jumped off the van. The way her legs came up and the cape kind of flopped behind her. I mean, even had the cape sound effect as she landed. It was
nice swoosh and a thud.
It felt very Batman-y. They put thought into how a Batman-y scene is shot, and they did, and did it to a reasonable degree. And she's like, Kate told you to get out of Gotham. And honestly, everyone should just be assuming it's her, or at least Barry should be because he met her. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hair actually works as a disguise.
She hasn't changed her voice though. Her voice sounds the exact same.
Does a bit.
I'm like, yeah. Oh, you're Kate. Don't need no X-ray vision. And then, so bizarrely though, we have Killer Frost inside the building, who runs into Nora Freeze, who's not frozen. She's now is technically Mrs. Freeze, like officially, in the sense that she is also a villain, and she's trying to get her husband's freeze gun, which she does assemble. It's like a freeze cannon. I will say I'm disappointed that when she blasted Caitlin, it didn't actually just freeze her. It just kind of blew her back. I think
it would have frozen other people.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to give it a pass and say that Caitlin's immune because she's Killer Frost.
Yeah,
so
that was my thinking.
So she just got a blast as opposed to the actual rock ice effect.
Yeah, but I do want just the giant ice block.
Yes, that's what I want to. Plus, it'll make it really different from like Cold's gun.
Yeah,
so it properly does that. So but. Yeah, so that made sense, and Barry and Oliver came in, and then we get our next big Easter. Well, I had Bane's mask was there. Just point that out. But the next big Easter egg was the scarecrow grass, which gets knocked over.
Scarecrow grass.
Scarecrow gas. All right, I misspoke slightly. Give me peace. It's been a long day.
You have to smoke it now, apparently.
So the scarecrow gas, and they hallucinate. Barry sees Merlin, because that's Oliver's arch nemesis, and Oliver sees Wells or Thawne.
Wellsabad.
And they have this. They're actually fighting each other, but they think they're fighting.
I thought it was a little contrived that they had each other's worst fears. I'm not entirely sure why.
Well, the reason why is thematic, because afterwards, like, Barry's learned a bit about Oliver because he fought Merlin and vice versa.
I get it in that sense. I mean, in terms of how the gas affects them, I don't understand why it works like that.
Speed Force, bro. I ain't going to explain shit.
I'll take it.
That's all I've got for you. I don't get it either, but you have Batwoman breaking this up with her big kick move, which looked good. And Caitlin, quite rightly, is like, "Who the hell are you? Who's this Bat character that keeps popping up?"
Reasonable reaction.
But they get the book. They get the book from Negan, and they come out, and this is where we get our. Well, first of all, Barry wants in the Batmobile,
as any reasonable person should.
He's told to piss off though. But we get the other big Supergirl Batwoman scene where, because there was a joke earlier on where Batwoman's kind of hitting on her because she's like, because Kara points out her tattoos. You know, you got a lot of tattoos, and she's like, that's the only ones you can see. And she kind of gets in close, and Kara kind of like smells and like gets goofy because she realizes she's been flirted with. And then here she's like, you know, your cousin would be proud of you, Kate. It's like, hey, X-ray vision. And you do have a lot of tattoos, and I'm like, oh, Kara's eyeing her up. All right.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a shame I have to leave. We'd make a good team. And she's like, yeah, world's finest. And I'm like, okay, that was corny, but it's getting a pass because I'm smiling too much.
Because it was great.
Yes. Which, you know, I fully expect, you know, when Batwoman gets greenlit, that we'll get a Batwoman Supergirl crossover that's just them two on their own. It won't be the big yearly one.
Yeah, and it'll be titled World's Finest.
Yep.
But did we not have that episode? One of the Supergirl Flash crossovers?
The first one was called World's Finest.
Fine, whatever.
Doesn't matter. But that was the episode of Supergirl. Call the episode of Batwoman World's Finest. It's fine.
Yes, do that.
And call Supergirl's Brave and the Bold.
Sure.
There you go. Done. There you go. But yeah, I want it. I want it in my life. It's fine. Give it to me. Thank you. So they go back, and at one point during the episode, Team Arrow get you know, the portal open, and that's the scene you were talking about that reminded you of BVS with Barry from Earth 90 telling them about the book.
Well, no, this is when, because Oliver and Barry are back, right? When
Not the first time.
Not the first time?
No, the first time it's when they're on the roof and they're in the lightning. And, and they don't talk to him properly. He's just kind of like halfway through the portal. At the end of the episode, he comes out properly, and that's when Barry and Oliver are there and Kara's there.
I love it. Like, Barry's like, Jay? And he's like, no.
Dad?
He's like, Dad? He's so excited.
No, my name's Barry Allen. Keep up. Actually, I'm going to criticize something here. It felt like a weird thing not to cut to Barry's reaction to that. Just a little moment of him reacting like, what? You know, like, just...
I'm old.
You're Barry? You're me?
Yeah.
That was weird. Obviously, we have to talk about the reference to Earth 90 and John Diggle to being John Stewart.
Yeah, it's something that's been a theory online for about 5 years now.
Yeah, that he's really John Stewart. He's actually Green Lantern.
To be fair, he has a similar character background.
Similar character background, similar kind of look. He's... Yeah, there's a reason why it's there, but...
It's like, if you're casting John Stewart, he wouldn't be a bad choice.
So you get that reference, he explains the book, he explains these Elseworlds, and this is when he flat out says that the Monitor is testing Earths for a crisis.
Yeah.
Which, you know...
I'm telling you now,
yes,
next year, Diggle's getting a ring. Not necessarily this Diggle.
Hold on, I've got a list of things that I think we're going to see next year.
No,
I'm
but
saving them to the end.
Now, while we're here, because I was like, it doesn't matter. You know, at this point, they'd not said anything about next year. I was like, whatever the crossover is next year, we're getting Diggle with a ring.
All right. It feels weird if we'll actually get like a Green Lantern like scene or a Green Lantern cameo based around this. When There's been, I mean, we had a joke about Hal Jordan going missing in like season 2 of The Flash or whatever it was, but
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of weird.
I know there is a thing where they've said now that they don't put Easter eggs in just for the sake of it now. Usually, that like a lot of them will lead to stuff.
Oh, which is good.
So
But so yeah, so then I've got a question here actually. So the Monitor pops up in the news, right? And then it kind of transitions, and all of our heroes, or our main four now with 90s Flash, go to encounter him, right? Why was he on the news? Because he was just standing in the road. There wasn't really anything happening around him. What was he doing?
looked a bit weird.
He's on the news. There's cops walking up to him because he looks weird. Like, is that it?
I mean, what city was he doing this in?
Central.
Right. If a dude in a costume like that walks out into the middle of the road in Central, yeah, I'm probably going to assume he's a meta villain.
All right. I don't know. It was the second time I watched it where I just felt like, wait, actually, why was he on the news? What was he doing?
No, I'm with you.
So 90s Flash gets just vaporized back to his own Earth very quickly, which was a little bit disappointing. I'm expecting to see more of him next year. Which would make sense. But so he's quickly gone, and then Supergirl tries to hit him, but she just gets like teleported back to their starting point.
It's a cool effect.
Yeah, it's kind of like an extreme version of Cisco's vibe.
Yeah, it's like a gaseous version of it.
And he basically just magically makes the book disappear from Argus, and they take.
But he was like, good effort. People don't usually get the book.
He gives it back to Deegan, and then he's like, "Hey, you idiot! Like, think bigger." And then we end with a cliffhanger of Barry and Oliver are now criminals called the Trigger Twins.
Hell yeah, the Trigger Twins.
And Diaz is a cop. They have to have a Diaz moment.
Yes,
don't they?
They're trying to fill up those contracted appearances.
Yes. And then we get evil Superman shows up, and that's the cliffhanger of the second episode. Which I think immediately I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just because there was a reference when they first met him that he wanted to make himself the Flash, and it didn't work. Like, he didn't do it properly.
Yeah,
and the effect that we have is actually wasn't intended. He kind of messed it up. Yeah. As he puts it, there was a learning curve.
But he's got it now.
Yeah. So I immediately just assumed it was him, rather than he took Superman and made him bad. I got it immediately, which is better than just having an evil Superman.
And more importantly, we knew Superman was on his Earth, and he can only affect this Earth.
Yeah. So, that was kind of the immediate thought, and that's kind of where we left episode 2. Actually, so one thing to note, actually, just before we go to episode 3, is that this one started with Barry doing the, my name is Oliver Queen, blah, 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 blah speech.
Yeah. I thought it was very notable that he was doing the salmon ladder, but it was very notably not showing the bottom half of it. It was like, no, someone's just lifting his legs up and giving him a push.
They also show him in prison. They actually shot stuff of like, this is what he was doing as Oliver.
But it was notable because they didn't do that in the Flash.
Yeah, because I was expecting Oliver to be like, my name is Barry Allen and blah blah blah, and it didn't do it. And I guess the thinking was that because the episode's just like not started yet, you don't know what's happened.
Ruin it. Yeah.
Even though we all knew getting in. The third one though it doesn't start with Supergirl. It starts with Deegan saying, "Oh, my name is John Deegan and I am a scientist at Arkham Asylum."
Doctor at Arkham, yeah.
Yeah. And then he actually does, I had to become something else, someone else. He's like, I am Superman. And I'm like, okay, that was funny. So, yeah, reality's completely changed. And, Barry and Oliver kind of get away from evil Superman by, shooting the crane that was already kind of.
It's interesting that Deegan actually wants to be a hero.
Yeah, no.
Because, this point here is, he says, oh, I'm the hero now. Like, and Barry's like, no, you don't just be a hero. I am glad that I don't know how much I buy it, but I'm glad they kind of addressed afterwards that Oliver knew it wasn't going to actually cause any damage. Like, he didn't necessarily put people in danger, because he says, no, it would have landed in an empty parking lot. Yeah,
it'd have been fine. Because Barry's like queasy. He's like, oh, I can't believe we just did that on purpose. And like, he's like, no, it'd have been fine. Trust me.
Yeah. Also, Barry's struggling with all the running.
Yeah. Without his powers, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, that's actually really funny.
And obviously, it was fine when he was Oliver because he had that, because he could just do Green Arrow.
He had his training.
He was physically fit.
Yeah, he had his
stamina?
Tolerance, his stamina. Yeah. He had all of Oliver's training.
Whereas here, as a trigger twin, he's just like, oh Jesus, not more running.
Yes, as Barry without flash powers, he has no running ability.
Yeah.
So Supergirl is locked up in the pipeline. Superman, evil Superman that is, has like Diggle and Killer Frost as his evil henchmen, along with Alex, and they have Star Labs as kind of Superman Central. And they're basically just all there to stroke his ego. They all just kind of like cheer. He's like, yes, well done, Superman. You saved the day yet again.
Yeah.
Which is all very amusing. But so here's the thing with episode 3. I think it's probably the weakest of the 3 on like an overall scale, just because it feels the messiest and there's a couple of sciencey things that are kind of bullshit.
I agree.
But it also might hit the highest points in terms of storytelling out of the 3.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 are a lot more consistently funny and more consistently doing these Superman and Lois in the first one, Batwoman in the second. This one has a lot of setups for the next crossover. It has kind of this thing we're talking about with Oliver, where he kind of has an arc here, and it's kind of a big deal going forward. And even if his own show doesn't really deal with it that much, it's okay as long as it's still there for next year. It's fine.
Yeah, don't ruin this for us, Arrow.
Yes. Because they don't know what to do. They're like, okay, where can we go? They end up trying to find Cisco.
Because apparently Cisco will still have his powers. I mean,
that was lucky. Yeah, it was lucky that he still had his powers.
I mean, Caitlin still had her powers as well. Like, I don't get it, because Deegan's like, oh, I rewrote everyone's reality.
I wonder if he didn't. Well, no, because he got information from the book. It wasn't like it was what depended on what he knew.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess he just liked the idea of like Killer Frost working for him and still having her powers, and Cisco using his powers for bad things, like making him a villain, like making him a super villain to take down. I guess is what the plan. But it's like, okay, we got to fight Cisco. They go to his apartment, and they end up having this scene, the cosmic scene with the Monitor, as the Monitor's like, yeah, the crisis is coming, and you fools, are being tested, and you're not going to deal with it. You're going to fail. They all fail.
Yeah.
And Oliver gets kind of tetchy with them, gets kind of angry.
Pissy. Yeah.
And he kicks them back out, and they go and find Cisco. Jimmy gets his cameo, which is about as long as his cameo last year.
It was nice that they get to call him Jimmy.
That's true. The one and only legend, arguably the only legend that matters, Gary, gets a cameo as the bartender in this scene for some reason, which is funny because he's never interacted with any of these characters before.
I don't care. Gary is a universal constant, clearly. And
he was still just Gary. Like, he still acted exactly like Gary. He's like, oh, the Trigger Twins. Can I get a selfie? He's big Gary. And, they kind of convinced Cisco to help him, because they mentioned his brother, and then, oh, we can get rid of Superman. And then they vibe to Earth 38, and Superman and Lois are in the fortress. It was nice seeing Superman in the fortress, actually, because obviously we've seen it before, but never with him there.
Yeah.
And so they and actually there's a really funny moment here where he's like, oh, things are back to normal. Oliver owns Barry, it's great, everything's fixed. And then he looks over at Cisco and goes, oh no, Kara.
That was funny.
Yeah, and they explain everything to him. He's like, there's the whole that thing where he says I need to go at the same time Lois says you need to go.
Yeah.
When shit's going down and Kara's missing, and I think maybe the other reason why this is the weakest one is I think the Kara convincing Alex of who she is and is a bit rushed.
I didn't buy it. Like, I was like, fine.
I had no problem with her. I had no problem with it to a point. My only problem really came in when Alex called her sister.
Yeah, that's the moment where I'm like, nope.
Yeah, it's when she says to evil Superman, no, she's my sister. I'm like, no, I don't buy this.
Yeah, her going to the point where it's like, no, I convinced you enough that I'm a good person and shouldn't be locked up. I can buy that.
Yeah, it's it's just enough that, hey, this world's not what it should be. Believe me enough that I'll fix it and let me out. But her saying no, she's my sister just felt kind of forced and just kind of bullshit.
Didn't like that.
Her putting Barry in a headlock though, and him going, "Oh, you're badass in every earth. I get it. Let me go."
That's fun.
Was funny. Because some of the scenes between them were quite good though. Like the whole speech that Kara gives about how good Alex is, and she's got a job and she wants a wife and she's going to have it all, and there was a really well performed monologue essentially.
It was.
So so that was good. So yeah, so Superman comes back, and Cisco has a funny moment where he's like, screw this, 2 Supermen, yeah, I'm out of here, bye bye, have fun. And Kara speeds to get the book from the quote unquote fortress, which is actually the time vault.
I love how when they go, it's in the what he calls his Fortress of Solitude, and Barry's like, I just came from there. And they go around, and it's like, is that a fortress? Is that a time vault? What are you playing at?
And so meanwhile, of course, Superman's fighting evil Superman outside, and it looked pretty good for what it was, on a CW budget.
Yeah, I thought it was notably blurry.
Sure, yeah, speed lines.
yeah, but they were overplaying it to hide it a bit. But whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. I did like the joke though that a woman sees him fight and she's like, Bizarro. That's a funny line. So I also note this is a very obviously, it's hard not to compare this to the Superman Zod fight from Man of Steel. Kind of like a Supergirl fight that we had back in season 2, I want to say.
Yeah, that did the really blatant with the same 1-2 punch, didn't it?
This wasn't as close as that, but I want to mention it because like that fight with Supergirl, at one point Superman actually leaves the fight to save a helicopter that the evil Superman threw down. And notice this. He's going out of his way to save people. He's trying to avoid collateral damage, and the few times that he does go through a building, he's not making the choice to go through the building. He's been thrown through the building.
No, it happens. He didn't choose the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is what you got. There's buildings. Sometimes there's not much you can do.
Yeah, that's what it is. So we have this kind of a standoff where Kara gets him the book, and he's trying to rewrite, and this is when he rewrites enough that Barry becomes Barry again with the Flash suit.
I thought it was nice that that only Superman could read it.
Yeah, because he's dealt with these things before. Yeah.
Yeah, like Kara tried, and it was like, whoa, how the hell did Deegan manage this?
Yeah, obviously Deegan was kind of given a key though, essentially by the Monitor. I'm going to basically say, but so it was a nice transition where they all get their suits on, kind of almost Power Ranger style, where it just kind of the camera spins around and they're in their suit.
Yeah.
And all the little themes kick in. But then evil Superman grabs Barry in a headlock. And he's like, I'm going to snap his neck. Which, I don't know if that was meant to be a reference to, Man of Steel, kind of.
I felt like it was.
Yeah, it was a joke where it's like, hey, remember how the good Superman in that snapped a neck? And, yeah, so they have this bit of a standoff and he gets the book back. And
yeah, Oliver threatens him with a kryptonite arrow.
Yeah.
Because he's got kryptonite lying around. Good job Supergirl didn't see that.
Well, he had that last crossover, so this is established.
Yeah, but it's a good job she didn't see it this time, given how, she's been reacting.
Sure. The time calls for it, though.
it does, but, I mean, she doesn't like anyone on her Earth having any.
Yeah, she doesn't live here, though. It's fine. Alright, so the weird thing is when he flies off with the book, it's like Superman, Supergirl, and the Flash could keep up with them if they wanted to, and none of them chase him. It was kind of weird. But the dramatic point of the scene, though, is that Barry's like, no, don't do it. Don't try and kill him, because maybe that's what the test is. It's not like, are we strong enough? Is it, are we good enough? Don't do it. And he makes the choice not to shoot the arrow, and it's like, okay, given Oliver's back and forth with killing over the years, this kind of works as an arc.
Yeah, it was a sort of moment where, okay, I can understand why he'd, especially this Oliver, would go, no, this is a moment to kill, right?
Yeah.
But Barry being the one that's like, no, better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, Barry and Kara both say no, don't do it, no matter what. And yeah, it's obviously, reality's been rewritten again. Barry and Kara came up with a stupid plan, which is obviously just a reference to Superman the movie, but it was stupid in that movie as well, even though I love that movie.
Yeah, it was stupid.
And I love this episode. And the visuals of them doing it look cool, don't get me wrong. I like them both speeding. And by the way, even if you accept that them running around the Earth in opposite directions will slow down time, which you shouldn't, but even if you accept that, he says that they need to go Mach 7. They were going way faster than Mach 7.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just, it's not how time works.
It's not how time works. And it was just all for the reference, which, sure, but, that said, though, I was immediately won over when Clark shouts out something. Because they're running off to go do this, and Clark says, no, you both die. I saw that when I opened the book, and I saw the everything. You both die, and I'm like, wait a minute. What two notable characters die in a certain crisis?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, those teasing bastards, they're teasing us with that Just the idea of them both dying at the same time.
Yeah, because
is a
obviously
tease.
before this crossover aired, like just last week, I think we were speculating like, is this Crisis? You know, we got Psycho Pirates in there. We saw Red Skies. We were like, this kind of feels like Crisis.
Yeah, is this going to be their version of Crisis? But then, of course, in episode 2, they were like, oh, there's something, you know, because when he said there's something even more dangerous than me coming, I immediately think Anti-Monitor, right? We've got the Monitor, we're talking about the Anti-Monitor, which leads to Crisis, right? So at this point, I'm already thinking we're doing it next time. I'm not thinking we're doing it now. But when he said that, I was like, oh, they're teasing those two dying. That's actually kind of a big deal, right? I can't believe they're doing that. So that fact I liked, and obviously Oliver's like, you know, Superman, go get the book. I'm going to go and I've got a plan. I'm going to try something, right? And he goes to the Monitor, and I think, you know, I don't think I would have ever said the most important scene, and arguably the best scene from a storytelling perspective, is a scene with Oliver. But god damn it, Oliver goes to the Monitor and demands, like, you know, an audience with him, and, you know, Monitor kind of lets him in, because I mean he kicks down the door, but I feel like if the Monitor didn't want to let him in, it wasn't going to happen.
No, but he's like, no one's ever confronted you like this.
Yeah.
You're going to respect this.
But the beautiful thing of this though is Oliver's arguing, you're going to let Supergirl and the Flash die, you know, in the test to see which Earth is viable to defeat this presence, this crisis that's coming. To win this crisis, you're going to kill those two. You need those two. Because one of the things that he said earlier on, of course, was that you have to know who your true self is. And Oliver says, I know who I am. I am flawed. I have darkness in me. But that is not Barry and Kara. So him arguing that they should not die because they're the ones who are true and good and you're truly heroic and might actually stand a chance. And obviously it all builds up to the Monitor kind of agreeing with him and saying, yeah, but if I do this, you know, it requires something else to be taken. Like, you know, it has to be balance.
Yeah.
And, you know, it ends in a close-up. And it ends in a close-up of Oliver. We don't get to hear what Oliver kind of exchanges for saving those two.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure we'll find out next year.
And it's clear that that's what's happening in this scene. It's clear that he is sacrificing probably himself to save them. And I think what makes this work is the idea, because you can see this with Batman, right? You can see Batman pleading for Superman and Wonder Woman and saying, no, they're better than me. If there's going to be a sacrifice, damn it, it's going to be me. Yeah. But I think what makes it work here with Oliver is that over the past 7 seasons, as much as I've not liked a lot of his show, and I've not liked how he's went back and forth with the killing and the not killing, and how inconsistent it's been and so on, him actually like admitting this to himself and saying, no, this is why they're better, and like saying, no, they are the chance you've got. I've got a bow and arrow. What am I doing? Like, and I'm kind of an asshole. These are the ones who are going to inspire people. These are the ones who inspire hope. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of moved in this scene. I was kind of touched by this, because it felt like, for the first time in one of these crossovers, it felt like we're building to an event that is earned because of the history of the entire duration of all the shows.
Yeah. And, you know, it was a great performance when he was given the
speech.
No,
it was genuinely good. And it felt like it propped up Barry and Kara in a way that made them feel more important than they even have been up until now.
Yeah, definitely.
And it felt like every single character out of the Trinity, if you will, came out of this crossover being better characters because of this. Because of the 3 episodes and because of this scene.
Absolutely.
And it was during this scene where I went, you know, up until now, I could have maybe argued in my head that, you know, maybe this and Crisis on Earth X were maybe, you know, it's maybe
as
a
close
taste
as
thing.
we're going to get.
Yeah. This scene went, no, this is better.
Yeah.
This scene put it way above, because as much as Stein's death last year was, you know, it was hard hitting for what it was, and it was a nice touching
it worked.
It wasn't this. This is them achieving something that has not been achieved, at least with DC properties, that I've typically associated. In comic books, you get these big moments in events that feel like they're based in the history of years and years of stories. And Marvel, of course, with the movies, have kind of done it to the point where we've got to Infinity War and everything's kind of built upon what's came before.
Yeah, there's like 20-something of them now, so it's fine. Yeah. They've earned that.
But this felt like it elevated how they've handled their storytelling.
And it's at this where I feel like, in my mind, I'm comparing this to Justice League.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, that movie was fine.
It was a lot better than it was going to be, Once
It was better than it was gonna be. It was still a bit of a mess, and whatever. But
it was one of those things where it was still a mess and technically not a good movie, but you appreciated the effort because
I meant what I was thinking is like, you jumped straight to the big the big gun stuff in that.
Yeah, this means more because we've spent years with these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I was already of the opinion that I liked a lot of the crossovers more than Justice League because because
Earth X is definitely better than Justice League.
Yeah, absolutely. But this was like a higher level for me. This was. I'm trying to find the best way to put this into words. It felt like it's finally capitalizing on, like last year felt like a true comic book crossover. This feels like the countdown to the event.
This
right?
feels like a true comic book event because it does feel like an event in its own right.
It does,
and it feels more. This feels like a comic book event in a way that no other live action thing from either company has ever felt like for me. In the sense of no, all the individual stuff is still going on. It's just this is happening now.
Because the thing with movies, of course, is that they all kind of have to be big, so they all have to feel eventish. Whereas this has this ongoing thing with all the shows, but then has the events in the middle.
Yeah, and the problem is when the movies, when they all feel big and eventy, what difference does it feel like when you get an actual level event? And
I think Marvel's done a decent job with it, but sometimes it has felt a bit repetitive. But like, they've had some successes there. But I've always said that if money were no object, that TV would be a better format for almost every superhero.
Absolutely, they come from a serialized storytelling format.
Yeah,
it's where they belong. It's there's a reason why when you're adapting stories that that take place over years in the comics, sometimes with a single run can be one story at times. When you can't adapt that into a 2.5-hour movie.
No, you can't. And the feeling of like the culmination of these characters in a big event like this, you can't cheat just having years of that attachment. You just can't.
No, you can't. It comes from the fact that this has been going for this many years now. You got to do it. And
it doesn't even matter that Oliver's been on a show that I've largely disliked most of the time.
No, the fact is that he has been there.
Yeah,
and he has a history that you believe, even if you hadn't watched most of Arrow, right?
Yeah,
you'd still believe that okay, he's been through all this stuff. Whereas a lot of the time, when you get to a movie, they went, oh, here's the backstory. You're like, yeah, whatever, it's just backstory.
It's not something I said to you the other day after I'd watched the first 2 parts. Is that it almost doesn't matter anymore that, like, we might not get Batman at all, we don't get Wonder Woman at all. We have Superman kind of on and off, as a guest thing. But it doesn't almost matter anymore because like the show has its trinity now. It has its extended cast of like legends and so on. After that one tease of Batwoman and Supergirl, I'm excited of them being the world's finest of this.
Yeah, I don't need Superman and Batman to be the world's
Not necessarily.
finest. I don't need Superman and Batman leading the Justice League.
Yeah, like at this point, it's fine that it's these 3 who are going to lead that team. And if anything, I actually think it might happen now. I think that a crossover in the future might actually be the formation of their Justice League.
There's a shot at the end of this with some of Supergirl's characters as well. They're all in a lineup together after everything's gone down.
Yeah.
And there's a comparison shot compared to the Justice League animated show.
Mm.
And it's like, holy shit, they're kind of all there, represented in some form or another.
No, it's yeah. So I'll talk more about the implications of this scene later. But this scene with Oliver on the monitor, was probably my favorite scene of the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because I never thought Oliver shouting at someone would make me kind of. I wasn't like having a tear or anything like that, but I was kind of like touched and kind of like I really care about this in a way that I've not cared about a lot of things on these shows in a long time.
Yeah, John, I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm so glad that this was after the mid-seasons last week, because if we'd had to go from this straight into the mid-season episodes, oh boy, they'd have felt so much worse in comparison, right? And
Joe's funny.
It's weird that I'm like, okay, we've got to go back to normal in January, but at least there's a month off to kind of reset.
Joe, the fifth is that I feel like these being consistent crossovers every year that have typically been high in quality. And because they poke so much fun at each other when they do, it's actually worth going through all the bad episodes just so when they crack the jokes at each other, it's funnier because you've lived through it. You know, like him cracking that joke about the toilet seat or the toilets in the prison. That's only funny if you've been watching The Flash. You know, courtesy of Ray Palmer is only funny if you've been watching The Flash. The hallway thing is only funny if you've been watching The Flash.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many of those little things that only work because you watch the shows. So I praise that scene because I think that is genuinely the most, like, in the pit of my stomach I've cared about the story. Because I think the story is probably one of the least things I care about on any of these shows, usually.
As a given rule, yeah.
It's usually the weakest element, actually, of these shows. I cared about the plot here. I cared about what it meant for the characters and the growth that was happening in Oliver because of this plot. And what he was saying about the others meant something. It felt important. Yeah. And I really liked that. So, and giving them a whole episode to be a trinity before this really added to that, I think.
Oh, definitely.
So he bargains this deal. Superman's fighting evil Superman, but he brings in Amazo. He gets the book and he's like, oh, Amazo appears because he's got the book. And Amazo, knocks Superman back with a heat vision, and that's when Lois brings in the cavalry. She brings in...
wielding a hammer.
Wielding the hammer from the fortress. And Jean comes. Jean probably is the biggest disappointment because he just goes and like shields some civilians in one shot, and it's from fire, which felt odd because that's his weakness.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm enjoying everything else too much to care, but it's worth mentioning.
But we have a Manhunter.
We have a Manhunter
in our Justice League. That is important.
And we have Brainy.
More important than having a cyborg.
And Brainy literally turns around and says, "Thank you for including me," before he flies off to fight him. So.
That's so brainy.
Yeah. And then Flash and Supergirl are kind of dying as they're speeding around the planet. I mean, it looks good, even though it's silly. And the time kind of slows down, and Oliver comes sauntering in slow motion with a monitor-infused Elseworld arrow, whatever you want to call it.
At first, I thought it was going to be blue kryptonite.
All right, okay. No.
But then he shoots at the book.
Yeah, it's clearly monitor magic.
It is, yeah.
Just whatever it is.
I think it was just because we saw the kryptonite arrow 10 minutes before, and then he comes out and it's blue now, and I'm like, oh, okay. But, whatever.
If you want to solve a problem on these shows, you make a specific arrowhead out of it and fire it at it. That's what you do.
Hey, what if it works? It works.
So he fires the arrow at the book, and that kind of solves all the problems. Everything, reverts, yada yada.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of says goodbye, and whatnot.
And Supergirl is everyone's favorite Kryptonian.
Yeah, I like that. I liked Cisco, because there's a joke where she's like, "This is becoming an annual thing," and Barry's like, "Oh, I hope not." And Cisco's like, "Hey, I'll do it right now for you, my favorite Kryptonian," and then Brainy just quits and says, "Yes, excellent choice."
And so like, "That's right, I have a favorite Kryptonian." And I like how Kara, as she's leaving, she's like, throwing up peace out. It's like, hey,
peace out
from your favorite Kryptonian.
Yeah, peace out from your favorite Kryptonian. And then she laughs as she walks through the portal.
Oh, she's delightful.
She is delightful. And then we have another scene of Barry and Oliver at a bar, because we ended the last one with this more or less as well, or maybe it was Invasion, but there was a scene like this at the end of one of the last two.
It was. And Oliver's just glad he can get drunk again.
Yeah.
Right there with you, buddy. You're going to need it on your show.
And he's like, oh, maybe I can be better. Because of you and Kara, I can become a better person. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like your time's running out. I feel like you're on a clock now, Oliver. More than that in a second. And he gets a call from Batwoman, who's like, yeah, your buddy Deegan. Because, by the way, Deegan's all Dr. Destiny looking now.
Yes.
After the book got destroyed. He's all mutated looking. She's like, yeah. Your friend Deegan's made a friend in Arkham, and we see him in the cell next to Psycho Pirate, and the camera just goes over. Which I will criticize this. This is not a proper complaint, but I want to point out that all the cells earlier in the last episode were all just like solid doors, but conveniently for this scene, it's like classic jail cells that we can see through.
Yeah.
Just about putting that out.
Different wing, different security level wing.
Maybe it could be. It felt like you just changed it because you wanted to do the shot going from one cell to the next. I
wonder if that was the shot that we saw. That was maximum security place.
Sure.
Whereas these are the it's just a different wing. I'm making excuses here. I'll be honest.
Yeah. But Psycho Pirate's in the cell next, and he says the classic thing. He says, "Worlds will live, worlds will die."
Yeah.
and he reveals his mask. You know, he turns around and we see his mask earlier in the last episode.
But he's wearing it,
But
and
he's
it's like,
yeah.
okay.
He turns around and he's wearing the mask, and then you know, at this point I'm fully expecting Crisis next year, right?
Yeah.
I did not expect them to just come up at the end saying, "Fall 2019, here's your logo, Crisis on Infinite Earths."
That is ballsy.
And it's funny because like movies get announced like 2 years in advance, so it's not actually that weird to say, "Oh, in a year's time, this is the crossover."
No, it's ballsy because they haven't even renewed any of these shows yet.
They know happening.
Of course, they know it's happening, and it's the CW. We know it's happening. The fact is, officially, right now, none of these shows are even airing again in October.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, they could cancel one or two, and the characters from those shows could still be in the event.
Yeah.
Like, that's still possible.
It is.
So, the idea of them doing Crisis is mad. My first reaction is I went to Twitter and I went, those mad bastards, those crazy bastards are actually doing it.
I said, I can't believe I live in a world where the first live-action Crisis is on the freaking CW.
Yeah, sure.
And that it doesn't feel like a cheap move.
No, it feels like they earned it. By the end of this crossover, it felt like, no, they've earned this. I want the Crisis now.
Whoever was head of programming going, yeah, all right, crossovers at CW, making these calls. Yes, take the money.
And we're merging Supergirl's Earth. It's happening.
Yeah. It's why I'm speculating on when Batwoman will start. I don't feel like they start Batwoman in October, only to have 7 or 8 episodes and then change things potentially.
It depends how much they would change in Gotham, but I will say the reason to start it before the Crisis is because they want to have the extra episode in the Crisis.
I agree. Do you know what will be really ballsy? Episode 1 of Batwoman is the first episode of Crisis. It's like, that's how you get people to tune into your show.
Nah, because they're shooting a pilot in April. There's no way that's the first part of Crisis.
No, I know.
There's no way that's
just
happening.
saying that would be ballsy.
Yeah, I feel like she'll be in the Crisis no matter what, but whether or not her show has started.
Unless the pilot, the pilot they shoot now essentially becomes episode 2. And it's like, no, we start just Crisis.
Yeah. I don't see it, but
I don't really either.
I get why you're saying it, but I don't see it.
Just from a marketing perspective, that would be a fantastic pull.
It's super exciting. Actually, I saw a great tweet saying that 2018 was the year that the training wheels came off on comic book properties. Between Infinity War doing the whole actual going for it and having the ending that it did, and Spider-Verse, and then this Elseworlds leading to Crisis next year. We're getting all this crazy stuff. It's like, you know what? People are used to comic book properties now. We can just do we can do all the weird shit now.
Yeah,
we're getting into it.
I have a question for you, because obviously my answer's fairly obvious.
Yes.
If anyone knows me, but genuinely, what are you more excited for? Crisis or Endgame?
Well, I feel like in the weeks before Endgame, my answer will change to Endgame for a while, but right now I'm more excited for Crisis.
So you're more right now.
But we're DC guys. I mean, to be fair,
no. I just want perspective on the fact that right now, a year out, you're more excited for 4 or 5 episodes on the CW than you are about.
Yeah, but it's a personal. It means more to me, though.
No, I agree. I'm right there with you. But I just want to say,
I've never read Infinity Gauntlet or whatever shit.
No, but, of course not. But if I'd said to you at the start of this year, Avengers: Infinity War or Elseworlds.
Sure.
But Crisis.
I can't believe Elseworlds went above and beyond my expectations, and it set me up so much for it, to the point where all the shows can be terrible for the rest of the seasons, for the first 8 of the next season, and I don't care.
I said that, didn't I? I said to you, it's like, I don't give a shit how bad they are now. I can't stop watching. They've got me hooked for another year, and they know it.
And if we get some nice episodes along the way, then great. We've lucked out.
Yeah, just give me a flash time. As I said, give something new a name, because you could have a name for everything.
Exactly. Oliver poked fun at him for it.
Yeah, we haven't even finished talking about the epilogue stuff.
Have we not? What was in the epilogue? Who else was in the epilogue? Oh yeah, Supergirl and Kara and Clark. Yeah, I forgot about their stuff. So Lois is pregnant. They got naughty on Argo, and they're going back to Argo primarily because when little baby Superboy is
John.
well, yeah, I mean, it's John, but I'm just,
Yeah. But I'm just let's get that familiar now, and then it'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, people will know about it.
But yeah, the worry is that when the baby starts kicking, it might have like super strength. So if we go to Argo, the kid won't have superpowers, and it'll be safe.
It's a smart move.
And he's like, you know what? I feel a little bit guilty, but like, I feel okay about leaving you to take care of the planet. Like, Supergirl, you've got it.
Which is why we can get Supergirl dealing with Lex.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he's passed the torch. The baton's been passed. And I don't think for a second this is them rating him out forever. I think we'll get him back. If nothing else, next crossover. But
I think they're going to have to next crossover,
but
yeah.
I think this neatly explains why he's not around for anything for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
We never have to question it. We never have to say, okay, why
Like it says, you got, at least 9 months, and then plus a bit of time for themselves after.
Yeah. So, and maybe part of that's also just to let the kid be normal for a while before it starts, lifting up heavy things.
And this is it. Like, if we do get their show, to me it's really interesting to start in a position where no, we're starting with Superman the Family Man.
Yeah, honestly, if they do a show, I'd like them to start it when John's already like 9.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I mean, we'll fix it in Crisis.
No, because what I'm saying is, let's say they don't want to do it until Supergirl's finished, and let's say we get up to like season 7, right? By that point, John would theoretically be 3. So let's say the following year they start Superman, and it's time's passed. Yeah, what if they do another Crisis and we get like a 5 years later thing on all the shows?
Shit, yeah,
we can do that. I mean, it was 1 year later in the comics, but we'll just fudge it to 5 because John. I want John at a proper age.
Yeah, no, I agree. If they really want to just fiddle it with it in next year's Crisis, when things merge.
Our son is just aged by 8 years. That's weird.
Yeah. Things just happen in a crisis.
And then we get to see the fortress where, of course, Lois is naturally wearing the Superman 2 Lois outfit.
The white gown, yeah.
So it's funny, I assumed they were married already. Was that just me?
No, I assumed it too, but I mean, fine.
But yeah, he does the thing from Superman 2 where he crushes the rock to make a diamond, and then, but of course the proposal goes out very different here, where she's like,
just be direct.
She's very Lois, and he says one word, and then she just kisses him and says yes.
I love it. He's like, wait, is that all I had to say?
Yeah,
It's like, well, that was way easier than I thought.
And then they fall down in a goofy moment of laughter. Delightful.
It was.
Is what I'm saying.
How to top off a great crossover? End it with Clark proposing to Lois.
There you go. Yes, wasn't expecting that. So that was great. And I think his conversation with Kara as well was really nice. It was like, just the part about you saying, like, it doesn't matter if you're not with the DEO or not. Like, you don't need to be with some organization to be super.
John, this is the only sequence where I'm like, yeah, this is Supergirl's episode.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that like Brainy and Alex show up at all.
Yeah. Just that they're there.
Yeah.
But in general, it's like, no, this is the only one that felt like no. Like like in Arrow, you had the scenes with Felicity.
And Diaz briefly.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is the Arrow episode, and not even just to the terms of supporting cast, just Oliver and Felicity having those moments.
Yeah, then Flash, comparatively, they mention Cicada.
Yeah, which was even a mention too much. Right, so Crisis.
Okay. So the obvious thing, I think, for your mind to jump to, is that Oliver has sacrificed himself in the Crisis.
Yeah, does this rewrite? Obviously, going back to Flash episode 1.
Well, that's the other thing I like about this is that from episode 1 of Flash, we've been teasing this Crisis, and obviously we're speeding it up, but that was always Flash disappears in a crisis. Is that been changed? Is it no? Oliver's taking his place, or because Flash was supposed to disappear today, essentially, can that still happen? Let's get into an extra murky level of analysis. I think first and foremost, Oliver sacrificed something, and I think that's going to be in the Crisis. I think he's on a ticking clock. Now, I don't necessarily know if he'll die in the Crisis itself, because theoretically there's still going to be half a season of Arrow to do.
Yeah, this is what I mean. What does it mean for their respect? Because the thing is, Flash can, we can sacrifice Barry, and we could have Nora say step up as Flash.
Yeah. But that's the thing, I'm not expecting it now. No, because of that scene with the Monitor, I don't think Barry or Kara are going. I think they're surviving.
I think that is a fair
Oliver's going because he's the original character of this universe. He'll mean the most, and his sacrifice actually means something. The question becomes then, does he actually die on the spot, or does something happen that basically puts him on a clock so he'll be dead by the end of the season?
Yeah, I wonder if they renew it for a shorter season.
That would tell us, though, wouldn't it? If they say it's coming back for a 10-episode thing.
Yeah,
it would let us know. It would confirm it right away. That because there might be one or two after the crossover that kind of like are set before the end that can be kind of bittersweet because we'll know where it's building up to or something like that. But
yeah,
or a couple of epilogues episodes because I don't know what Arrow does to function without Oliver.
No, that's the thing. That's why I say in Flash I can see what you can legacy Flash, and that's fine. In fact, might be good for the show.
Hey, we got Emmy now. Emmy's the Green Arrow.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Jesus.
Yeah, Emmy. I'll just get renamed to Felicity. It's fine.
God, I just pictured Felicity running around in the hood.
I feel like, I feel like. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not Oliver's death, but he can't sacrifice anyone else. That's a dick move. It has to be himself.
It's a dick move, yeah.
And admittedly, I don't know how him sacrificing himself counts for both Barry and Kara. Maybe because Kara's from another Earth, she doesn't have to be covered in the same way. So it's like
no, he just takes Felicity with him.
We'll die together. It'll be romantic. Actually, here's something I love. I love that in episode 1 of this, Iris talking to real Barry about Oliver, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry. Talking to Oliver, thinking he's Barry, and says, Felicity called me when Oliver went to prison, and
he didn't even tell her.
Yeah, he made this deal behind her back to save his friends, but he didn't console her. And sorry, not console.
Confide?
Not confide. Not confer. Oh!
Consult worked.
Consult works. I wasn't the word I was thinking of, though. Anyway. I love at the end, he does the same thing. He goes to the Monitor and he makes a deal behind everyone's backs to save them without telling them.
It's funny. So for as much as we say, no, Oliver had an arc, he didn't learn anything at the same time.
Well, no, he did. He learned who he really is, and he did it in his way. But
yeah, he learned that he was right to do that.
Well, not being right's neither here nor there.
Right in his perspective.
He is or he isn't. He realized who he is. He realized what he does, and he decided to do it his way in an effort to say, no, we need the other two. I'm the one who's expendable, so I'm going to go and do this. He's doing the sacrifice thing. So I mean, like I say, I love that scene, and I feel like he is going to sacrifice himself in some way. And let's be honest, this is going to season 8 of Arrow. Should we get another season of Arrow? Because maybe that's the thing, that maybe it just doesn't get renewed. Maybe Oliver just comes back for the crossover. Like, that's a possibility.
It is. I mean,
but here's the thing. Here's what I think what gives this credence that he's actually going to die and sacrifice himself and maybe end the show, is that Batwoman starting and possibly overlapping by a year is the perfect show. We've said this before, but it is the perfect show to replace Arrow because it is kind of similar and it's a vigilante with gadgets and hand-to-hand
give them
combat.
some higher ratings too.
And I think the other thing is someone retweeted something from back when she was first cast as Batwoman. Stephen Amell tweeted something on, oh, it'll be people like you who carry this forward, into the new generation.
At the end.
It's like they already know that they're getting to the end of his part of this, and everyone else will be around for longer. And
I do love that we're at a stage of legacy, even if not directly in terms of passing the mantle to the character, but just in terms of no. The next generation of these shows, this universe is going to continue for a long time, I would assume.
Yeah, and because obviously I'd expect at least a couple more seasons out of Supergirl and Flash, and I think Legends won't last as long as the others, unfortunately. I feel like Legends could have its last season next year as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you only have a high body count, I feel like a legend or two could die.
Yeah, or 6.
Or 6. I could see that happening, which would be a shame.
It would, because it is consistent. I mean, crossovers aside, consistently it's the best.
Yes, yes. Most weeks it is, you know, it's either picked or it's in the top 2 contention for best episode of the week.
It rarely stumbles these days.
Yeah, even this week with the crossover, it put up a fighting chance. I'm still picking the crossover at the end, but
Do you know what? No, I am too. But there was a point in the crossover where I went, well, no, in the crossover in Legends where I went, man, any other week and this would have swept the floor.
yeah, any other week, but
Like
not this week.
I don't think there was any other episode of these shows on any normal week that's not a crossover that could have had any chance of standing up to Legends.
Not this season.
No chance.
Not this season. But yeah, so here's the thing: Crisis, right?
Yeah.
So here's my hope for Crisis. My hope is that it's longer than 3 episodes. I think they need at least 5. Honestly, I would love if they say it's a 2-week thing. So instead of just having 1 week of all the episodes, they do it for 2 weeks, and it's like 8 to 10 episodes total. It's very ambitious, but I feel like if you're doing Crisis,
I can see them just doing a 5-night event.
yeah,
Monday, Sunday. I mean, they do Sundays now, so we could do a 6-night event.
because well, 5 theoretically, because I'm not going to assume Black Lightning's involved. Although if there's ever a time to include him,
Yeah, if there's ever a time, it's like, well, we're going to crisis them into it.
But because you're going to have Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, Legends, and presumably Batwoman as 5 shows. That's your 5 parts.
Yeah, because you got to have the Legends this time.
I think you do. I think they're in it this time.
I think they have to be. I think you can't do it without them.
They make up the body count, like I said. So I hope that as far as getting cameos from people, here's things that I am convinced we're going to see next year now because they've confirmed Crisis on Infinite Earths. We are going to see Helen Slater in a Supergirl outfit. We are going to see Diggle in a Green Lantern outfit.
Yep.
We're going to see who else have we had legacy wise? We're going to see
Tom Welling.
If there's ever a time, there was a tweet actually from John Glover saying he was going to avoid the barber for next year when he saw the news of this, which I think is quite funny.
Yeah.
If there's ever,
I think Tom Welling, he's working with Amel and Rosenbaum. They're both working with Amel on his wine company that he does.
All right, okay.
Because he tweeted pictures of the 3 of them together like 2 weeks before the crossover, and people are like, oh, hang on.
Here's something else: Brandon Ruth in a Superman outfit.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I want him, Tyler, and Tom Welling, and Dean Cain in a Superman outfit. All 4 of them. I want all 4 of them standing side by side in Superman outfits next year. It's happening.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I don't think that's a big ask because Tom Welling. I mean, they'd have to borrow him from Lucifer, but that's on Netflix or Amazon now, so that's a different production schedule anyway.
I think some if they can get Rosenbaum back, I want him with the current Lex. I think you can get Terry Hatcher back for Lois. Do it. I think he'll say no, but honestly, call Christian Bale. You never know. He'll probably tell you to piss off, but give it a try. Seriously, this is the time. Anyone who's still alive and is willing, you put them in this.
Yeah.
From any versions of any DC show ever. Put in characters from Smallville. Put in characters from.
This is the one time you won't complain to see Smallville
because they'll all be cameos anyway. None of them are going to be like extended.
No, they'll just be in a lineup.
Yeah. Get people from Gotham on the phone. They're fresh. They just finished the show, right? That's
how you have your Batman.
There you go. Who else can we have? Like anyone, any actor who's ever been in another DC thing that's in these shows will probably get a costume, their original costume back. And any character or any actor they think they can get is probably going to show up for this thing next year.
Yeah,
is my guess.
I agree. 4 Supermans.
And they're all plausible Supermans. I don't think any of them are, because obviously one's already on the show. One's our guest Superman that we get, every so often anyway. The other 2, I think, are believable enough. And one of them's been on Supergirl before in a small role.
Yeah.
So Tom Welling's actually the only one who's not actually already been on one of these shows.
It is, but I see no reason why he wouldn't. He's a very nice dude.
Yeah, he's a plausible get.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we're getting 4 Supermans.
Yeah, no. To Tom Welling, they're on the first hey, look, we know you did 10 years of the character, and you got to wear that suit for 10 seconds.
And even then, not really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how'd you fancy it? Come down, have a day in the suit.
Yeah, yeah. Brandon put the suit back on. Hey, phone Henry Cavill. He may be up for it. You never know.
Yeah, can we drag him away from The Witcher for a day?
Hey, if he truly loves Superman and loves DC Comics, he will appreciate the idea of doing a Crisis.
Yeah.
Hell, get Ezra Miller in to stand next to the other two Flashes. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do all of them.
Yeah. Can we get Amy Adams?
I don't think. I think she's a really busy actress, but sure, we
She
can
is,
try.
but I mean, we can ask her.
I think we'll have this Lois. We may get Terry Hatcher, and Erica Durance because she's actually been on the show already. So
she has.
We get those three Loises at the least. I don't know if we get anyone else though.
No, I mean, how many others would you want?
Is Ashmore too big to come back as Jimmy? To stand next to Jimmy?
Nah, he's not doing anything right now. I haven't seen him in a while.
Have all the Jimmys.
Well, and if he is, just grab the
and
other
hey,
one.
No, if there's ever going to attempt to get the Titans to cameo, get them on. Do it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I can't believe we're doing we're doing Crisis.
Anyone you can get from any DC TV show or movie ever. And I'm almost tempted to say cartoons, right? Even if it's not as Batman, have Kevin Conroy be in it.
Yeah, have Kevin Conroy, have Tara Strong, Mark Hamill can show up,
or even have a joke where there is an animated universe, right? You know, in the multiverse, and just cut and have Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill do a quick, Batman chasing the Joker. Give them a line. Yeah,
I can't believe that. Yeah, we're at a point doing this Crisis, and I'm like, I believe they're going to do it properly. I don't think they're going to screw it up.
I think
they could.
Crossover gave me faith that I don't think it'll be a direct adaptation. I think they'll be their own take on it.
It'll be this universe's version of Crisis.
But this crossover made me think I will at least really like it, even if it's not like
it. That's the thing. I went into this going, it's pretty good. It's a crossover. They're usually the best stuff.
Yeah.
But I went, no. They're telling me Crisis is coming next year. And I believe they can pull it off because, as I said to you, going into this, we thought this was probably going to be as close to a Crisis as we were going to get. When we heard all the casting and things, we were like, okay, this is kind of Crisis. Weird they're calling it Elseworlds, but whatever. And I was okay with that. Actually, I was like, hey, we're getting Crisis.
Interesting tidbit on the name. They originally were going to call this Identity Crisis because it fit. Because obviously it fits. I think everyone would agree it fits the thing. But they changed their minds because they didn't want to, because it had nothing to do with the actual book Identity Crisis, and they didn't want anyone to think they were false advertising. So they changed it, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they made that choice because as much as it does fit the story perfectly, there is a famous story called Identity Crisis that this has nothing to do with. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I do too. But sure, there's a crisis. Maybe it won't quite live up to what we're saying now.
That the stuff with Oliver's progression and the Trinity and then his conversation with the Monitor, if they can hit that feeling again at least once or twice in this Crisis, I'll be a happy man.
Oh, me too. But it's the CW, and I'm going, yeah, they've got this. What's going on?
CW stands for Crisis World, just for anyone who doesn't know.
Might as well. At this point, the CW might as well just go, screw it. We're being the DC service. We're the DC network. You have DC Universe for your adult stuff. We're the DC network, damn it.
And the funny thing is that I'm like, I already think that they're probably planning what the Crisis for the year, or Crisis or crossover, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Look,
they're planning multiple shows of when they're going to launch them now.
I would think so. Yeah,
they're going right. Okay, we're
they're
going
Feige in it.
Right.
They're basically being Feige for these TV shows now.
They're going right. 2019. We're going to go. All right, Batwoman's here. It's like right. Okay, 2021. This is coming in.
I would love to know if behind the scenes they've actually got a rough ending season plan for each show. They're roughly saying it's not set in stone necessarily. It's not like the network's really agreed to it yet. But I wonder if they've actually sort of said to themselves, look, Supergirl, Flash will both go to season 7 or 8, and that'll be kind of that'll be the standard. Is that everything will go to about season 7 or 8?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's weird because TV obviously usually it runs until in network TV anyway. it runs until the ratings drop too much.
Yeah, but we've never had this situation where they can swap in another show that will kind of carry over the audience.
It'll carry over most of the audience and probably get a boost for being a fresh show.
And here's the other thing, is that because it's this universe, with the exception of characters who die, anyone can guest star again in events and crossovers in the future.
Yeah.
Like, they can, you know, if Flash and Supergirl end, they can have Benoist and Gustin show up for the events, you know, once a year.
Yeah, and, you know, it makes sense that they've got other things that they want to go and do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, they've got movies that they want to be in. It's like, yeah, okay, we got them for 7-8 years. Let's release them. They can do their thing. We'll bring in the new guard, and they can come back every so often.
Yeah. You know, and
I genuinely think Batwoman is the beginning of that phasing. You know, okay, and then in a couple of years we'll get another one and replace probably Flash.
Yeah, Flash will probably be second. I think, yeah, Batwoman will coexist with the others as they are. Hopefully Legends is included in that. And then, you know, after, say, 2 more seasons of Flash, maybe 3, Flash will end and something else will start up.
It's weird because I'd love for Flash to just keep the name, keep the seasons, but just be a new show. Change to a different Flash, change supporting cast if you want to.
Yeah, it'd be great to, you know, shift to... I think Wally's a lost cause at this point.
Yeah, I think we can, but we can do Bart.
We could do Bart. I mean, I'd be there for Nora leading the show, to be honest. I think she's...
I would too. Yeah. Depending on where they go with it this season, to be honest.
Yeah. That said, I can see the argument for Green Lantern replacing Flash.
Yeah.
I can see the argument for that. Or maybe the argument is that it'll replace Legends.
Have your cosmic-y, weirdy stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like
your ensemble, do the core.
Yeah, and I feel like all the shows will be 16 episodes now. That seems to be the new standard. All the shows that were 23 originally have stayed at 23, but the Legends and Black Lightning, and I'm assuming Batwoman will be the same, unless they are replacing Arrow, in which case they might put it at 23.
Supergirl's still one less, right? It's 22.
No, it was 23 last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 22 in season 2, and then season 3 was 23.
I think I didn't notice it last year because it had the staggered ending.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting as well is that it's the Trinity who have the longer shows, which, well, I think they should be shorter for quality's sake. There's kind of a nice touch there that the Trinity get the most time.
You know, they're the benchmark, right?
Yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah. That said, though, I mean, one of the ideas I had a while ago was that instead of cancelling things, everything just switches to 13 episode seasons and they share slots. So, you know, let's say there's a Superman show, you have Supergirl for, you know, up until February, and then Superman takes over from February to May.
No, I agree. And then, then this is where you get because right. We know we're getting the summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you do your event.
Theoretically, I think the reason why you don't do that is because I think
they need time off.
That's where the actors get their time off to go do the projects. I think you still keep it in the middle, but yeah. What would be nice if you could place it so it was in between the show, the first batch ending, the second batch starting. So you do. No,
that'd be nice. So you do 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And then you do. Let's say there's 8 shows total, and you know, 4 out, 4 in. So you do 12 episodes, and then all right, the 13th 12 is your season final. 13 is actually part 1 of the crossovers, and then and then your other shows. The problem is that episode 1 has to be the crossover episode, which is
that's why I wouldn't do it like that. I would count the crossover as its own miniseries and just name it, whatever 1 through 8.
Just give all the shows 1 less episode.
Well, no, I mean it's whatever. We said 12, so it can stay at 12.
Yeah, but 1 less than what they would have done.
Right? Yeah, sure. But the idea being that it's just numbered on its own. It's just its own little miniseries, and you do that every year. We're just kind of fan scheduling now at this point, but
we are a bit.
It's just them announcing boldly next year. Here's your logo. Crisis on Infinite Earth says to me confidence. It says to me they've thought some of this out. They've got a plan, and it does say to me that at least someone big is dying, and it is most definitely going to be all.
This is the thing. It's a level of planning I don't expect from network TV, because they usually are so, we're going to play it by ear, cut it to the wire. We'll get to April and then go, okay, we really need to decide now. So, we've been in situations where it's been down to the last day. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last year went over the deadline in terms of
it got an extension.
because they were, trying to figure it out.
Hey,
This, when they go, no, a year, forget about it. We got it covered.
hey, if any network's safe to assume renewal, it's probably the CW.
It is, but and I assume that internally they already know what they're doing in terms of renewals. They've got enough data. They know what they're doing. Because we've had it when they've announced the renewals in like January, February before, right?
Yeah, they have done it once or twice. I'm pretty confident that everything's coming back.
I don't think we get any official renewals this year till April, though. I think we wait until they've seen the
that's
Batwoman
fair.
pilot.
If I was to make reasonable guesses, I think it'll be the last season of Arrow and maybe the last season of Legends. But we'll get the first season of Batwoman. And do they start something up? I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe they let Legends go another season just purely for the reason that they want to set something up in a crossover or something. I feel like this is something they'll do a lot now. Black Lightning was very separate, so they didn't do it with that. But I feel like this idea of introducing the new character in the other shows or in the event is probably something they're going to do a lot of. Because Batwoman got a big showing in this. She was like, hey, come for Batwoman. You get to see Batwoman. Okay, she's got a show coming. Be excited. And it kind of works, I think.
And that's the thing. Technically, this Batwoman show isn't even official yet. They haven't even shot the pilot yet.
Yeah. They are officially shooting the pilot, though.
They are shooting it in April. Yes. Which is
They've-
why I
they've-
say I don't...
They've greenlit a pilot, so it's not a done deal that it's happening, but I'm feeling pretty confident.
Which is why I say I don't think we get any official word on renewals until they've seen that pilot, just in case anything goes wrong with that.
And it's garbage, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, has happened before.
Yeah. I am pretty ecstatic about this crossover.
Yeah, this is probably the most positive we'll be. It's the most positive we've been all season, and it's the most positive we'll probably be until Crisis.
It's the most positive I might have been for any of these shows in their entire history.
Yeah, that's true.
I have never been actually as invested in the drama of where it's going.
I've never been excited for something coming up beyond just they're doing that next week, right?
Like, not only does it not feel cheap, it feels earned that we're getting a Crisis because it's been going on for so long, but even just the way it's built up its characters now to feel important get into this Crisis, that this group, this Justice League, if you will, is the one that might actually succeed and beat the Anti-Monitor, is a big deal.
Do we get them call themselves a Justice League?
It could be next year, yeah. Maybe this will be the coronation of that. But I can see that also being something down the line as well afterwards.
Yeah,
it just kind of depends. But I thought when they joked, Barry Allen, a founding member of the Justice League, back in like episode 1 or 2, was it episode 1 or 2? It was near the start. It was Gideon
near the start, yeah. And we kind of laughed it off, going, "Yeah, sure, it's nice."
Yeah, it was an Easter egg. Yeah. I actually believe now that we will see the founding of a Justice League. I don't necessarily think we'll get a Justice League show, although I wouldn't. I mean, is that how you keep some of this cash? You say, okay, we're going to actually make a Justice League show where you can rotate in and out a bit more often, so you're all kind of guest stars.
Yeah, I would say if you make the Justice League show a 10-episode summer show, because that way they've still got the majority of the year off that way.
Sure.
And they're only
we're getting really wacky here though, because there's no precedent for them doing this.
No, of course. But I'm just saying, in terms of, you're going, oh, yeah, right, okay, you want them to go off. They want to go off and do things for most of the year. But, hey, come back for the summer. We'll do a limited, even 8 or 10 episode thing over the summer. Then you can go on your way again. We'll see you in a year.
I mean, it's not impossible.
It's not.
I feel like when we start talking about this stuff, though, we're literally talking about things that no network has ever done. Oh, yeah. And I feel weird putting any stake in it. It is just hype.
I'm not saying
this is pie in the sky, and I want to make that clear.
I'm saying that's an ideal solution.
Yeah. Oh, there's even more ideal solutions than that. If you want me to map out how they swap 5 shows to 5 other shows and how they do crossovers and events, and I can map you out a 10-year plan right now if you want me to.
No, I know. I was not just ideal, but realistic.
Is that something you do? Like, does Supergirl, Flash, Arrow all end? We get this new generation of shows in, but we still get all the Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl characters on a Justice League of some sort, like occasionally, as shorter seasons or something. I don't know. I mean, obviously it comes back to, do they still want to do it? Like, because even it's not just a case of, they want to do other things. Like, they may just be sick of it. They just want to leave.
Yeah.
That's always a possibility. Because I know Amel's contract was technically up at the end of this season, but he's extended it for at least one more.
That's probably me. He's, to be fair, he
Which
always
lends
seems
to
very
which
positive about it, though.
yeah, which lends more credence to, he's extending for one more
Yeah.
because it's the last one.
Well, I mean, typically they renew one by one at that point anyway, though.
Yeah. Well, no, sometimes they'll do multi-year
There's
things.
sometimes will, but it's very standard to do it year by year at that
Yeah.
stage.
So, yeah, curious, very curious to see where we go with this. But super positive. Needless to say, sure, there's a lot of little nitpicks. There's a lot of little sciencey things. There's like, why did they let that person away, or why did this happen? Some things not making 100% sense. I didn't really care though, because I was too busy laughing. I was too busy enjoying new characters. I was too busy into the way it was poking fun of each of their shows, and then
it got dramatic.
Yeah, and then it got into the actual like setting up of the crisis, and it actually was kind of good, and I was into it. So I didn't care about the little problems.
Is this the best version of Oliver Queen we've seen yet? This one episode at the end of the three.
Well, it's the best this character's been on the the show. I mean, is it the best version of Oliver Queen? That's a weird thing to say, because like, is he still acting like Oliver Queen from the comics yet? I think that's debatable.
That's fair.
So I think that's a weird way to phrase it. But is he the best the character has been just in and of himself in the history of this show? Probably, because this is a self-aware Oliver Queen who's recognizing his faults and propping up his.
Can you imagine if Oliver with this attitude carries over into January?
You know, I actually said that'd be great for a start. But I said on Twitter, imagine going back to 2012 and telling yourself while you're watching Arrow Season 1, hey, by the way, in a few years' time, this is going to build to a crisis with Supergirl, Flash, Martian Manhunter, Superman, and the Monitor.
Batwoman.
Yeah, like, we're going to do this in like 6 years, and you'd be like, nah, shut up.
Yeah, that is crazy.
From this show, this Season 1 show? No.
And I liked Season 1 of Arrow. I think Season 1 of Arrow is pretty good, and it's enjoyable. It's not without problems, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, but it's not. This is going to build to a crisis. Because there was nothing even meta. There was no meta. It's just
I was going to say not in a million years, but it turns out not in 5, but yes in 6.
So, yeah. Needless to say, this is first of 2 episodes this week, because we were actually out of time to record today.
Yeah, I should have been asleep like an hour and a half ago.
We didn't start that late.
Well, all right. I should have been asleep at least an hour ago.
But so we'll have a second episode out this week talking about Titans, Legends, and Black Lightning. So that'll be kind of a shorter episode, obviously, but we'll be doing that this week as well. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll record that tomorrow and put it up, so you'll get a day later. But this will be the Elseworlds special episode going out on its own, which has been over 2 hours on its own, so that's okay. In fact, the audio version of this might even make it split.
God damn it! Oh God, we're gonna have to dedicate something to Crisis next year.
That'll probably be all the shows anyway.
Yeah, depending on how they do it, it might be one a day.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, it may actually be worth. We could probably talk about that for an hour each day after each episode. That's very possible. Anyway, so yeah, that has been TV for the Multiverse. This has been your Elseworlds episode 57, I think we're on.
Damn it, why couldn't this have been 52?
I know, this would have been an amazing episode 52. But yeah, let us know what you thought of the crossover in the comments below. We had very little critiques. They were all very small, nitpicky things. And I want to emphasize, I'm actually really excited for Batwoman. I'm up for this version of Batwoman.
Just out of interest, right? Say these 3 were spliced together as a movie. This was a movie,
yes.
Right? And as we do at the end of our movie shows, we rate them. Oh, what would you rate this as a movie, like in that on that scale?
Oh, that's a weird question, because the structure is very different because it's not a movie.
It is, but just think about it in terms of that perspective, as one event, as one thing.
Like a 9?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of feeling that too.
Something like that. I mean, it's weird because it has this jankiness because it's a CW show versus an actual movie.
Yeah.
So there's technical things that aren't up to his par that you would have in a movie.
But yeah, as I said right near the start, I would watch this over any of the DC movies. Like, freaking Aquaman's out in like a week. Screw it, I don't care. Just let me watch this again.
Hey, I watched it twice already. It is. Yeah. Let us know what you thought of Elseworlds in the comments. Are you excited for Crisis? Also, you'll know that me and Connor on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can go and support us for as little as $1 per month. But at the $5 tier, obviously we have comics from the Multiverse, where we talk about the DC comics that come out every week, with the two of us plus Matt. Me and Connor do a monthly episode of that, exclusive to patrons, where we do a trade or a graphic novel or whatever. I'm penciling in right now, next November, Crisis on Infinite Earths is what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe December, depending on when it's actually falling.
No way. December, even if it's in December, it'll be right at the start of December.
Yeah, it could be a Christmas treat.
There's no way we're squeezing in Crisis. This is like 12 long, dense issues. We're not squeezing that in at the start of December.
But you can start reading it in November.
Yeah, but
it might be December's episode.
But we're always late. We are never early. We will not have done the monthly episode for November until like December the 2nd. So don't even give me this shit.
We will be too hyped for Crisis, and it will be done.
Bullshit. It's November's episode. Don't listen to him. And he knows. You know deep down it's going to be November.
We will see. Marking this in my memory for a year's time.
It's going to be November. Because of course we're going to talk about the actual comic before we get it. So that'll be a Patreon exclusive thing, but it's worth mentioning because we will do it.
I mean, you can get another episode every month till then, and there's like a bunch of them there already.
There's like 15 so far. But anyway, that is also worth mentioning. The voting for the second show in the off season, the Flash, the 90s Flash won, and beat the other two shows. So come off season and next week is the off season. We'll be doing an episode of 90s Flash, an episode of Gotham, and an episode of Batman the Animated Series plus Titans, obviously, because that'll still have an episode or two left.
Yeah, Titans has got another 2?
Maybe 2 Batman, actually. We're definitely switching to 1 Batman when Young Justice comes on, because Young Justice has like 3 a week. But that's what it is.
3
a week, I know. So that's that. On the upside, though, it's mostly done by the time the CW shows come back, because it's only on for like 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So by the time the CW shows come back, it may only overlap like once, and then
and of course after Christmas the CW shows take their breaks pretty consistently.
Yeah, it's a lot more wishy-washy, whereas they're quite consistent before Christmas. But yeah, so like, subscribe, all that stuff. All of it helps if on YouTube's, with them pimping stuff out. Get us on the Twitters at DC Comics Podcast. We'll be back with the second part of this week's episode, or it'll be in a separate number. It's not going to be part 1 and 2. Partly because the audio of this might be part 1 and 2 on its own. So technically that'll be part 3. But yeah, so the next the other shows this past week will be in their own episode tomorrow. So bear with us. But this has went long, so thank you very much for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching superhero TV shows. Be excited for Crisis. Red Skies,
Crisis,
bitches.
people.
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
The first of many.
And always remember that sometimes we screw things up for the better.